Lawmakers press government on health, disaster management and social inclusion issues. Government tables election and voter list amendment bills in House of Session. Communications Minister says government will not control media, stresses responsible journalism while strengthening media regulatory institutions. Iran warns conflict could expand beyond Middle East after US threats. Trump threatens new strikes if Tehran rejects long-term settlement deals. China and Russia expand strategic cooperation during high-level Beijing meeting. Xi and Putin pledge stronger coordination in global affairs and trade. Indian and Italian prime ministers hold talks in Rome, agree to expand cooperation in trade, energy and strategic connectivity. And Nepal women's cricket team defeats Malaysia in T20 international match, secures 2-wicket victory chasing low target in Malaysia. Good evening, I'm Suveksha Rajak and this is NTV World Primetime News. We are coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. The details now. Members of the House of Representatives of Nepal raised urgent concerns over health services, disaster management, land settlement issues, road safety and social inclusion, urging stronger government action. They stressed that every citizen's constitutional right to health services must be effectively implemented without delay. Lawmakers also demanded timely rehabilitation of disaster-affected infrastructure, including roads, drinking water systems, and other damaged public projects. Concerns were raised about risk from infectious disease like Ebola and the difficult conditions faced by citizens staying in holding centers, calling for immediate improvement. They further urged stronger road safety measures and special protection and care arrangements for persons with severe disability while respecting Nepal's diversity and cultural sensitivity. In the same session of the House of Representatives, the government presented 2 replacement bills for earlier ordinances related to elections and voter registration reforms. With the monsoon season in Nepal expected to begin in about a week, government agencies have stepped up disaster preparedness effort across the country to reduce the risk posed by floods, landslides and other monsoon-related natural disaster. Sabika Shrestha brings more.
The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority has estimated that around 51,868 households and a population of 226,661 people across the country will be affected by monsoon-related disasters this year. The authority, which approved the National Monsoon Preparedness and Response Action Plan 2083, made this estimate by analyzing the preliminary status of past damages and projecting that even more people could be affected this year.
मनसुन सुरु हुने टाइम भयो भन्दा पनि हुन्छ अब आउन लागेको अवस्था छ र त्यो समय आउँदै गर्दा चाहिँ हामीले लगभग सबै किसिमका तयारीहरू चाहिँ पूरा गरेको अवस्था छ मुख्य गरी हामीले कार्ययोजनामा चाहिँ पहिलो वर्षको मनसुनको समीक्षा गरेका छौं हामीले के कस्ता कार्यक्रमहरू गर्यौं कस्तो किसिमको विपदले चाहिँ हामीलाई समस्यामा पार्यो वा हामीले चालेका कदमहरूले चाहिँ के सकारात्मक सन्देश दियो भन्ने विषयहरूको पनि समीक्षा गर्यो भने केही कमी कमजोरी भएका विषयमा त्यो पनि राखेको थियो र त्यसपछि अर्को चाहिँ हामीले अब कुन निकायहरूले चाहिँ यो मनसुनको सिजनमा खटिने आफ्नो योजना बनाउने कसरी जाने भन्नेमा कुन क्षेत्रमा कुन निकाय चाहिँ सक्रिय रहने र के काम गर्ने भनेर स्पष्ट रूपमा जिम्मेवारीहरू पनि तोकिएको छ विपद सम्बद्ध निकायहरूमा चाहिँ त्यसैमा काम गर्ने हामीलाई आपद पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले कोसँग कन्ट्याक्ट गर्ने कोसँग कोअर्डिनेसन गर्ने भन्ने विषयमा पनि फोकल पर्सनहरूको सम्पर्क नम्बरहरू नामहरू पनि उल्लेख गरिएको छ योजनामा
Meanwhile, experts highlight on the lack of budget for early preparations. They urge for a more pragmatic approach.
सबै जोखिमहरुमा हाम्रो नेपाल एउटा मात्रै जोखिमले प्रभावित भएको देश नभएको र बहुप्रकोपीय जोखिममा चाहिँ रहेको देश हुनाले हामीले बहुप्रकोपीय एंगलबाट तयारी गर्नुपर्ने र त्यसको लागि चाहिँ हाम्रो नीतिमा भएका प्रावधानहरूलाई कार्यान्वयनमा लैजाने स्थानीय सरकारले अहिले पनि चाहिँ जस्तो मेरो क्षेत्रमा यो यसपालिको मनसुनले कस्तो पानी के रे प्रभाव पार्छ, मेरो कुन कुन खोलामा चाहिँ खहरे बाढी आउँछ, कुन कुन खोलामा चाहिँ नदी सिस्टममा चाहिँ ठुलो बाढी आउँछ र मेरो विद्यालय कुन अवस्थामा छ, विद्यालयबाट घर जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ एउटा विद्यार्थी चाहिँ ठुलो पानी पर्यो भने सकुशल घर जान सक्छ कि सक्दैन, त्यो इभ्याकुएसन रुटहरू बनेको छ कि छैन भन्नेसम्मको चाहिँ जानकारी र त्यो अनुसारको तयारी पनि गर्नुपर्ने हुनाले त्यो तयारी अहिले हाम्रो कम छ भनेर भन्नुपर्छ।
Last year, 10,823 families were directly affected by monsoon-related disasters and 495 people lost their lives, according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority. As the government prepares for the next budget, there's a call for prioritizing disaster preparedness. The onus also is on the general public to remain cautioned towards the hazard. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Vinay Deshar reporting for NTV World.
In Falgunanda rural municipality, 2 new constructed permanent bridges were swept away by floods within a year of being put into operation. Following the damage, residents are now facing serious transportation difficulties, especially during the monsoon season. Farmers in the area also report that their agriculture activities have been significantly affected, leaving many discouraged. In addition, 2 suspension bridges in the same locality have been completely destroyed, further worsening the situation. The bridges were originally built to connect various wards with the municipal centre, but they're damaged after the Nibukhola River changed its course during heavy rainfall and flooding. The affected structures are located over the Nibukhola in the central part of Falgunanda rural municipality in Panchthar district. The destroyed bridges include the Fenzedoban bridge and the suspension bridge at Sapsu, both of which were completely washed away. Information and Communication Minister Dr. Vikram Timsila clarified in the House of Representatives that the government has no intention of controlling the press and remains fully committed to press freedom. Responding to lawmakers' questions, he emphasized that constitutional rights guaranteeing free media cannot be curtailed by any authority. He also stated that while press freedom is protected, media outlets must maintain professional dignity and operate within ethical limits. The minister added that the government is committed to strengthening institutions like the Press Council Nepal and the Film Censor Board for more effective regulation. He further assured that suggestions and concerns related to his ministry in policy and budget discussions will be carefully considered moving forward. Time now for a short break, which I'll be back with more updates. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World and this is Primetime News. Nepal is facing continued challenges in existing the FATF grey list due to weak enforcement against major financial crimes and poor monitoring of sectors like cooperatives, real estate and informal money transfer systems. An Asia-Pacific Group on Money Laundering delegation is reviewing Nepal's progress and holding discussions with officials on anti-money laundering reforms. Authorities say some legal changes have been introduced, including stricter asset seizure rules and mandatory banking for higher value transactions, but implementation remains weak. Officials admit gaps in investigation and interagency coordination are slowly progress, while the government reaffirms its commitment to meeting international standards. The natural gas exploration project in Jaljale area of Bhairavi rural municipality in Dai Lake has reached an uncertainty as the second phase maintenance work has not progressed. Although initial studies suggest large natural gas reserves that could last Nepal for decades, project implementation remains stalled, prompting concerns among local representatives and authorities in Dai Lake and Kalikot. A meeting involving local leaders, administration and security officials called on the government to verify the actual potential of petroleum resources and speed up extraction work. The exploration is being carried out with Chinese grant support by the China Geological Survey since 2019. According to submitted reports, the Jaljale area may contain around 80.7 billion cubic meters of natural gas, potentially sufficient for Nepal for 50 to 60 years. However, final testing for commercial viability is still pending, and officials say further progress depends on agreements between the two governments. Tourism stakeholders from Nepal and China have called for stronger cooperation to boost tourism collaboration and shared learning during a Kathmandu event. China Cultural Center Director Liu Jiangping emphasized tourism as a platform for cultural exchange, practical cooperation and deeper mutual understanding between the two countries. He noted Nepal's importance as a destination for Chinese tourists while encouraging Nepali travelers to explore China's culture, heritage and modern development. Nepal Tourism Board promoted national tourism products highlighting Nepal's natural beauty, wildlife and peaceful travel experiences for international visitors. China National Tourism Office showcased major destinations and heritage sites, while also highlighting China Tourism Day inspired by explorer Xu Shaike. China's Southern Airlines emphasized improved air connectivity as key factor in strengthening tourism, trade and bilateral relationship between Nepal and China. Despite annual government spending of millions of rupees, the road leading to Ruby Valley in northern Dhading remains in poor condition, causing continued hardship for local residents. The Dhading-Besi Sankho-Stipling Road has received significant funding over the years, but progress has been slow and outcomes remain below expectations. During the monsoon season, the road becomes nearly impassable for months, severely affecting transportation and daily life in the region. Local representatives blames delay and negligence from responsible authorities for the lack of proper development and maintenance. Community leaders, including local government chair Ram Singh Tamang, have called for coordinated efforts among all levels of government to ensure a long-term solution. They emphasize that municipalities alone cannot solve the issue and urge federal and provincial authorities to ensure uninterrupted construction work. International news coming up next. For now, a short breather. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has warned that any renewed U.S. attack on Tehran could trigger a much wider conflict extending beyond the Middle East. The warning followed remarks by U.S. President Donald Trump, who threatened further military action if Iran refuses to accept a deal aimed at ending the conflict. In a statement carried by Iranian media, the IRGC said future retaliation would target locations beyond the region and deliver severe consequences. Trump responded by saying the United States could launch another major strike within days of negotiations fail to achieve a lasting settlement. The escalating exchange of threats has increased international concern over the possibility of broader regional instability and military confrontation. Meanwhile, China and Russia are holding high-level discussions focused on energy and weapons cooperation, influenced by the ongoing wars in Iran and Ukraine as Russian President Putin is in China visit. Now moving on, China and Russia have reaffirmed their strategic partnership during high-level talks in Beijing, with both sides pledging closer cooperation in foreign policy, trade, energy and global governance. Chinese President Xi Jinping said both countries must support the United Nations and oppose all acts of unilateral bullying, stressing that major powers should uphold international fairness and resist attempts to reverse the outcomes of World War II.
我提出构建人类命运共同体理念和4大全球倡议，得到包括俄罗斯在内的国际社会广泛支持。作为联合国安理会常任理事国，中俄两国要坚定履行负责任大国使命担当，捍卫联合国权威和国际公平正义，反对一切单边霸凌和开历史倒车的行径。
She also called for opposition to what he described as provocative actions that deny historical outcomes of World War II while advocating reforms to global governance systems. Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia and China are committed to an independent and sovereign foreign policy, describing bilateral relations as stable, constructive and not dependent on global conditions.
И сейчас российско-китайские отношения достигли действительно беспрецедентного уровня, продолжают развиваться. При этом наши отношения самодостаточны, не зависят от текущей мировой конъюнктуры и служат образцом того, как нужно строить отношения между странами и народами в настоящее время. Что касается сегодняшних переговоров, то они прошли в традиционно теплой, товарищеской и конструктивной атмосфере. Обстоятельно обсуждены все ключевые направления двустороннего взаимодействия. Главное, Россия и Китай привержены независимой и самостоятельной внешней политике, действуют в тесной стратегической связке, играют важную стабилизирующую роль на мировой арене. Работаем вместе во имя мира и всеобщего процветания. Именно в таком
Putin added that both countries aim to play a stabilizing role in global affairs through closer coordination, as the two leaders signed a series of agreements covering trade, media and energy cooperation. However, the long-discussed power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline project remained unresolved, with officials indicating only a basic understanding on routing but no final timeline or agreement on key details. Putin's China visit comes days after U.S. President wrapped up his state visit to Beijing. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council has condemned a drone attack on the Barakah nuclear power plant in the United Arab Emirates, calling for de-escalation and accountability amid rising regional tensions. The UAE said the strike originated from Iraq, where pro-Iranian proxy groups are believed to be active, raising concerns over broader regional spillover risk involving multiple state and non-state actors.
Arab Emirates. And we have to ask ourselves, what responsible, what sane nation, either directly or indirectly through proxies, sends drone attacks into an active and ongoing nuclear power plant. But
Russia also joined other council members in condemning the attack, warning that such incidents risk escalating instability in an already volatile region.
На этом фоне наша страна категорически осуждает действия тех, кто нанес удар по АЭС на территории Объединенных Арабских Эмиратов и тем самым создал риски эскалации, грозящие обернуться дальнейшим подрывом региональной и глобальной безопасности.
Israel's parliament has approved a bill to dissolve itself, opening the way for possible early nations election that could take place for the October deadline. The move followed pressure from an ultra-orthodox political faction that withdrew support from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over disputes about military service exemptions for their community. Although Israel is scheduled to hold elections every 4 years, early elections have frequently occurred due to coalition instability and political deadlock. Political analysts say a vote could be held as early as September, though lawmakers still need to approve a final election date through additional parliamentary procedures. Recent opinion polls suggest Netanyahu's coalition may struggle to secure a majority following criticisms over security failures linked to the October 2023 Hamas attack. Former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, opposition leader Yair Lapid and former military chief Gadi Eisenkot are emerging as major challenges ahead of the expected election campaign. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is appealing for greater international support as authorities intensify efforts to contain a worsening Ebola outbreak. The World Health Organization has delivered 12 tons of medical supplies, including protective equipment for frontline health workers, while more than 40 medical experts arrived in Banai, in eastern Ituri province on Tuesday. Speaking in Kinshasa, Health Minister Samuel Roger Kamba warned that declining international assistance could weaken both emergency response efforts and scientific research.
On a besoin de l'aide internationale. Les virus nous concernent tous. Et donc, c'est à nous tous de nous lever pour pouvoir nous entraider. Et c'est dommage que l'aide baisse, parce que cette aide qui baisse, la conséquence, c'est que nous avons moins de protection pour les infirmières. Nous avons moins de recherche scientifique.
The Ebola outbreak has renewed concerns over fragile healthcare systems in conflict-affected regions of Central Africa, where humanitarian agencies say medical resources remain severely stretched. Now in the other news, meanwhile, the European Union has said the risk of an Ebola outbreak in the region is very low, and there is no indication that Europeans need to take further steps beyond the standard public health advice.
According to ECDC, the risk of infection here in the European Union is very low. The situation in Africa, at this stage, there is no indication that people here in Europe would need to take some specific measures beyond the normal public health advice.
Myanmar's military says it has recaptured the southern border town of Mothong near Thailand, marking another strategic gain in the country's prolonged civil war. State media reported the town was retaken after a 2-week military offensive involving more than 200 classes. Months after resistant fighters seized control of the area, although Mothong is a relatively small trading route, the military says reopening the crossing could restore cross-border transport and trade with neighboring Thailand. Myanmar has remained engulfed in conflict since the military overthrew the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi in 2021, triggering nationwide armed resistance by ethnic militias and pro-democracy groups. The latest battlefield gains comes as Myanmar's junta also seeks greater regional legitimacy following a controversial election widely criticized by democracy observers as lacking credibility. International news and sports update on the other side of this after this short break. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Rome's historic Colosseum with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni following his arrival in Italy for high-level bilateral talks. The visit comes as India and Italy seeks to deepen cooperation in trade, energy, technology and strategic connectivity between Europe and the Indo-Pacific region. Modi and Meloni also held a dinner meeting ahead of formal discussions scheduled for Wednesday at Villa Pamphili in Rome. The Indian leader is additionally expected to meet Italian President Sergio Mattarella during the official visit. The talks reflect growing diplomatic engagement between India and European partners amid shifting global economic and geopolitical priorities. Former German Chancellor Angela Merkel has urged the European Union to maintain strict regulations of social media platforms and artificial intelligence, warning that democratic values are under growing pressure from digital misinformation. Speaking at an awards ceremony at the European Parliament, Merkel said the rise of social media has blurred the line between facts and falsehoods, creating risk for the foundations of democratic systems.
Freiheit ohne Demokratie wird es nicht geben. Und auch die Demokratie steht unter Druck. Und hier will ich nur einen Bereich nennen, bei dem die Europäische Union heute für mich Vorreiter ist. Das ist die Entwicklung der sogenannten sozialen Medien, in denen plötzlich Fakten nicht mehr Fakten sind, Wahrheiten Lügen genannt werden können, Lügen Wahrheiten, in denen Gefühle und Fakten vermischt werden und damit die grundlegenden Lagen der europäischen Aufklärung in Gefahr geraten. Und dies alles.
Google has unveiled the design of its new smart glasses, marking its return to a market it previously attempted to enter more than a decade ago without success. The device is expected to go on sale later this year and positions Google in direct competition with Meta, which currently leads the segment with its Ray-Ban smart glasses. Meta's smart eyewear has reportedly sold more than 7 million units, giving the company a strong early advantage in the growing wearable technology market. The new product reflects renewed competition among major tech firms to develop everyday augmented reality and AI-powered wearable devices. Analysts say the launch signals an intensifying race to integrate artificial intelligence into consumer hardware beyond smartphones. With that, we move on to sports update. Arsenal fans have erupted in celebrations in North London after the club secured its first Premier League title in 22 years, ending a long wait since the 2004 Invincible season. Thousands gathered around the Emirates Stadium as supporters marked a landmark victory under manager Mikel Arteta, following 3 consecutive seasons of finishing as runner-ups. Fans described disbelief and joy at the achievement, with many saying the victory felt unreal after years of near misses in the title race. The triumph restores Arsenal to the top of English football and is being seen as a major milestone in the club's modern era. The celebrations mark one of the most emotional fan response in recent Premier League history, reflecting the significance of ending a 2-decade title drought. Nepal women's national cricket team defeated Malaysia women's national cricket team by 2 wickets in the first T20 international match held at the Biomass Oval in Malaysia. Malaysia is set a target of 68 runs after being bowled out for 67 in 16.5 overs, with Nepal producing a strong bowling performance. Pooja Mahato led Nepal's bowling attack with 3 wickets, while Riya Sharma and Manisha Upadhyay took 2 wickets each. In the chase, Nepal reached the target in 17.3 overs after losing 8 wickets, with Samjana Khadka top scoring with 32 runs. Malaysia's Noor Khalisha took 3 wickets, while Asia Alisha and Elsa Hunter claimed 2 wickets each in a competitive bowling effort. The match is part of Nepal's preparation tour in Malaysia ahead of Asia qualifiers and the ACC Premier Cup, with the second match scheduled for Jester 8. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Lawmakers press government on health, disaster management and social inclusion issues. Government tables election and voter list amendment bills in a House session. Communications Minister says government will not control media, stresses responsible journalism while strengthening media regulatory institutions. Iran warns conflict could expand beyond Middle East after US threats. Trump threatens new strike if Tehran rejects long-term settlement deal. China and Russia expand strategic cooperation during high-level Beijing meeting. Xi and Putin pledge stronger coordination in global affairs and trade. Indian and Italian prime ministers hold talks in Rome, agree to expand cooperation in trade, energy and strategic connectivity. And Nepal's women's cricket team defeats Malaysia in T20 international match, secures 2-wicket victory chasing low target in Malaysia. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. I'm Suveksha Rajak. Do join us throughout social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting, PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I'm Sabika Shrestha, your host for the program. From major headlines to the issues behind them, we break down the week's top stories and explore how they are shaping the path forward. This week's episode includes Parliament advancing key ordinances ahead of the national budget, Gen Z consultations on possible constitutional reforms, Nepal's major federal ministry restructuring, Bagmati province downsizing, and Lumbini province joining the nationwide administrative reform drive. Nepal's government is moving to secure parliamentary approval for all 8 ordinances introduced earlier this year, with plans to table them in both houses of the federal parliament during the ongoing budget session. The ordinances are scheduled to be presented in the National Assembly on May 21, while preparations are underway to introduce them in the House of Representatives through an emergency agenda. The parliamentary calendar also outlines key discussions ahead of the national budget announcement for fiscal year 2026-27 on May 29, including debates on government policies, pending bills, and pre-budget priorities. Here are the details. The 8 ordinances will be presented in the National Assembly meeting scheduled for May 21 for the endorsement. In the meantime, preparations are underway to present these ordinances in the budget session of the House of Representatives as well through an emergency agenda. The lower house is slated to start its session on May 18th, and the set agenda for May 18, 19 and 20 includes discussions and question-answer sessions on the government's policies and programs. It is planned to endorse these ordinances by May 21 first. On May 21, there is an agenda to present a proposal for consideration of the National Forensic Science Laboratory Establishment Bill 2081 as well as the Alternative Development Finance Mobilization Bill 2082, and on May 26, there is a schedule for clause-wise discussion on the Science Laboratory Bill. Similarly, in the House of Representatives meeting on May 27, the Economic Survey for the fiscal year 2026-27 will be presented. On the same day, there is also an agenda to present a proposal for consideration of the Film Bill 2081.
राष्ट्रिय सभाबाट यो बीचमा जुन 19औं र 20औं अधिवेशनबाट पारित भएका विधेयकहरूलाई पनि यही बीचमा समावेश गरेर अघि बढाउने छ र अध्यादेशको सवालमा चाहिँ अहिले कार्यतालिकामा प्रतिनिधि सभाले जुन पहिलो बैठकमा प्रस्तुत भएका जुन जति पनि अध्यादेशहरू छन् 8 वटा त्यसलाई कुन दिन त्यसलाई समावेश गर्ने भन्ने यो टुङ्गो गरेर चाहिँ अहिले कार्यतालिका प्रकाशन गरेको देखिदैन, तर सदनको त्यो बिजनेसको लोड हेरेर र सम्बन्धित मन्त्रीसँग समन्वय गरेर यही बीचमा यो सायद 15 गते अगावै यो जुन अध्यादेशहरूलाई पनि टुङ्गोमा लग्ने छ.
The Parliament Secretariat has made public legislative work scheduled up to mid-June, with the federal budget for the upcoming fiscal year 2026-27 set to be announced on May 29. As per the schedule, the Finance Minister is slated to present the annual revenue and expenditure estimates in a joint session of the Federal Parliament as constitutionally mandated. Parliament meetings before the budget announcement will focus on discussions related to pre-budget preparations, government policies, and pending legislative business. According to this published schedule, discussions on various topics of the upcoming fiscal year's budget will begin from June 1st. The 0 hour of Parliament has been kept intact for expressing views on contemporary issues. The Parliament Secretariat also has stated that emergency time may also be provided depending on the seriousness of the subject matter. Even if not included in the agenda, time will be provided if requested by the leader of the opposition parties, former Prime Minister and former speakers. For more insight into this issue, we are joined virtually on The Perspective by economist Dr. Neeraj Paudel for an interview. Welcome to NTV World, sir.
Thank you very much.
Nepal is preparing a budget of nearly rupees 1.9 trillion amid a slowing economy. What should be the government's top priority in this year's budget?
There are two important issues that needs to be addressed. The first problem is the low economic growth track. So we are in a situation where we cannot achieve growth rate more than 5% for a long time period. So our average growth rate has remained in between 4 to 5% for last 30 years. So that needs to be, resolved. We need to break out of that low growth regime and aim for growing at 6 to 7% in next decade. So to basically, especially to address the inspirations, the dreams that our youths have been talking about, thinking about. That is one problem, to get out of the low growth regime. And the other issue that this government needs to tackle and starts to immediately work on it is the fiscal imbalance that has been growing significantly in last 10-20 years. The imbalance is reflected in how the recurrent expenditure, for example, relative to capital expenditure, has been growing as a share of its total expenditure.
So every year Nepal announces ambitious budgets, but capital expenditure and project implementation remains weak. Why does this problem continue?
There are many things. I think, some of the things the government has already started to address. And I would say Nepal has already, despite, being a low-income country, we have already, gathered a lot of experience implementing and running huge, mega projects. Manchi is one such project. It's a huge project. It took so much time, it took so much budget, but we learned from that. So we need to consult with those involved in such projects, why, things were delayed, and the number of laws we have, formulated in past decades has also skyrocketed. Actually, it's very difficult for producers, for those who are working in these construction projects, to keep track of all these laws and regulations. There are, many regulations related to forest. There are regulations related to import duties. There are regulations related to, for example, raw materials. So that has to be addressed. That has to be made a little bit easier for people to work on. And another thing is, I think our government, has spread. It has become like, it has started, working on almost everything. And if you try to work on every sector that you can see, your efficiency, your effectiveness goes down. So the government should prioritize which are the sectors that it needs to focus.
Mr. Paudel, as we can see, a private sector confidence and investment activity have slowed in recent months. So what immediate reforms are needed to revive the economy and encourage investment?
Everywhere in the world, private sector is incentivized by, profit motives. Okay. Consumers are incentivized to spend, to, consume when they see, less risk in terms of, future stream of their income. Okay. So if they see that there is a little risk that they will lose job, they will confidently consume. They will confidently spend. Similarly, firms, corporations, companies would feel confidence to invest when they see, there is a chance that they would be able to earn enough profit, okay, with less risk. And that has, it has been going on for a very long time. It's not just like these couple of months that, private sectors has not been actually, encouraged really well. Not just by the government, even among the public, there is a, severe negative connotations attached to the private sectors. They are called exploiters, so-called. They are called capitalists, so-called. So there is the reputation of working in a private sector as a businessman has been damaged, and and that discourages investors to make investments, because there are other sectors that can give them the equal amount, the better opportunities or better respect in the society. And another thing that we need to ensure is, I think, the recent months decline is basically because of the lack of security, lack of confidence among the private investors with regard to the safety of their private property. So the government needs to ensure that the profit earned is secured. Okay, so and the property of the private entrepreneurs, private citizens is secured. So if we can secure those two things, and if we can give the message to the economy, to the public, that the future is secure, there is less risk in the future of high volatility, high uncertainty is not likely to happen. That will, I think, slowly help to reboost, rebound the consumer confidence as well as investors' confidence.
Nepal still depends heavily on remittances while production and exports remain very weak. So how can the upcoming budget help create a stronger production-based economy and jobs at home?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit, not very optimistic in terms of Nepal's, productive base. It's not our fault. Okay, it's given by, our limits are set by our history and by our geography. Okay, if you want to work on developing your production base on hardwares, for example, things that has like weight. Okay, so you have to think about transportation cost, for example. Transportation cost in Nepal is excessively high. Okay, so for example, transportation cost in, like, if you transport your stuff through waterways, it's 10 times cheaper compared to transporting stuff through land, like plain land. I'm not talking about mountains. But if you transport through mountains, it's going to be like many more times expensive. So these are the things that Nepal will find very hard to overcome. Transportation cost is very high, and I'll remind the audience that the tax rate in Nepal is actually one of the highest in the region. Actually, it's almost the double. If you compare our tax rates with India and Bangladesh. So if you want to be competitive in terms of, attracting investment in productive sector, you have to reduce these costs of production. Like tax is a cost of production. And another thing is the corruption. Corruption is also adds on to the cost of the production. So these three are the major, cost of production that we need to work on reducing. Okay. And this cannot be done overnight. It takes a lot of time. Especially, I'll focus on, not the heavy stuff. I'll focus on soft stuffs, like light stuffs like tourism, exporting tourism or exporting softwares. These do not require, transportation cost, So that might be one area where, Nepal could have a competitive advantage, and maybe the government can, think about encouraging those sectors even more.
Lastly, Mr. Paudel, as the government prepares the fiscal year budget, what major reforms or policy measures would economists like you want to see included?
Basically, I have, said like almost all the major, issues that government, needs to work on, to move on to the next, phase of our economic development, which is, I would call, high growth rate regime, which is, I'm not talking about 10% growth rate. I would not even recommend that high growth rate. Basically, growth rate around 7%. Another area that government needs to work on, which might be quite unpopular, given the, the perception people have with regard to the role of the government. But I would recommend government to, stop, or in other words, privatize the government enterprises. Government should not focus on producing, milk or producing this and that stuff like cement or shoes. It's not the duty of the government. That will only distract, the attention that the government needs to put on other sectors of the economy. But government needs to start, privatizing, start relying on the private sector to produce, so many things. It could be airlines, it could be, dairy products, it could be, the government is still running many, enterprises. So that has, I think, we have to move towards, privatizing those enterprises.
Thank you for your time and insights, sir.
Thank you so much.
That was economist Dr. Neeraj Paudel explicating us more on the key priorities of the government. Now, A government-appointed task force preparing a discussion paper for a possible constitutional amendment has called on Gen Z representatives for a constructive dialogue. The invitation comes amid reported confusion ahead of scheduled talks, with officials urging all sides to engage positively. Task force coordinator Asim Saha said the objective is to incorporate suggestions from all stakeholders before finalizing the draft. He also clarified that previous agreements with the former government are currently in the implementation phase and the formation of a Gen Z council has reached its final stage. The task force will collect inputs through both oral and written submissions during the consultation process. Nepal is undergoing a major administrative overhaul after the government reduced the number of federal ministries from 22 to 18. The major administrative restructuring is now underway under the new Government of Nepal Work Division Regulations 2083. The revised framework published in the official gazette keeps 8 ministries unchanged while merging and reorganizing several others alongside the creation of a new Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. Under the changed portfolios such as information technology, urban development, drinking water, physical infrastructure, agriculture, environment and youth and sports have either been merged or redistributed across new structures. The government says the move is aimed at streamlining governance, reducing duplication and improving administrative efficiency through a leaner cabinet structure. This latest overhaul continues a pattern of repeated ministerial reshuffles in Nepal since 2074 BS, when the number and structure of federal ministries have been revised multiple times. In a continuation of national-level downsizing, Bagmati province has moved to streamline its cabinet. On Tuesday, the provincial cabinet approved a reduction of ministries from 14 to 8 under a broader and reform plan. Minister Prabhat Tamang says several ministries were merged, but essential areas, internal affairs, economic planning, infrastructure, health, agriculture and environment remain intact. The government projects roughly 5 billion rupees in administrative savings to be channeled into capital development. The new arrangement becomes effective from July 17 and will stay in force until the close of the fiscal year. Lumbini province had joined the federal government's ongoing provincial restructuring by trimming its ministries and capping the cabinet at 8 portfolios to cut administrative costs. The move mirrors a wider trend toward slimmer governance across the country following recent national-level reforms. As Nepal's provincial administrative overhaul progresses, Lumbini has enacted its own changes. The provincial government will reduce the number of ministries and limit the cabinet to 8 members to lower the expenses. This decision aligns with a nationwide shift towards more streamlined federal governance. Here's the story.
Several provincial governments in Nepal are actively working to reduce the number of ministries in an effort to make administration more cost-effective and efficient. One of the most notable examples is Bagmati province, which has decided to reduce its ministries from 14 to 8. Similar restructuring efforts are being discussed or partially implemented in other provinces, including Lumbini province. The Lumbini provincial government has decided to reduce the number of ministries to 8 starting from the new fiscal year on 17th July. The province currently has 12 ministries, including the Office of the Chief Minister and Council of Ministers. The move aims to support administrative reform by reducing unnecessary expenses, improving efficiency, and making governance more effective and streamlined.
मन्त्रालयहरू कुन कसरी अगाडि बढ्छन् भन्ने बारेमा चाहिँ के भने मन्त्रालयको नामाकरण गर्ने गरी त्यो स्पिडका साथ आज चाहिँ के भने सरकारले यो निर्णय गरेको छ.
The provision to reduce the number of ministries will also be included in the policies and programs for the upcoming fiscal year 2083-84. In addition to restructuring ministries, the government is preparing to complete the adjustment of directorates and offices under various ministries between 29th June and 4 July. Under the new government, ministries with similar responsibilities are expected to be merged. Provincial Chief Minister Chet Narayan Acharya stated the decision was made to ensure faster, more transparent and more efficient public service delivery.
एकातिर खर्च व्ययता हुन्छ भने दोस्रो कुरो भनेको धेरै अब त्यो सुशासनको क्षेत्रमा र जनसेवा प्रवाहको क्षेत्रमा काम गर्नको निम्ति पनि त्यसले सजिलो बनाउँछ.
Lumbini province initially had only 7 ministries. However, during its first term, the number increased to as many as 17. The reduction in ministries is expected to cut administrative cost, speed up decision-making, minimize the duplication of work, improve efficiency, and streamline policy coordination.
That's all from the perspective for this week's edition. We'll be back next week with major updates. Stay tuned to NTV World.
Annapurna Circuit Trek features in world's 10 best destinations and adventures. The trekking circuit is the choice of many trekkers as it offers both adventure along with mesmerizing view of mountain ranges. Arguably the best trekking circuit in the world, travelers get up close with dozens of mountains including the Annapurna, Dhaulagiri, Nilgiri. Annapurna Circuit ideally is a 14-day trek. The circuit passes through Lamjung, Manang, Mustang and Myagdi district, including Thorangla Pass as the highest point. Places including Thampus, Ghandruk and Poon Hill are part of this trekking circuit. The revered Muktinath shrine is also part of the circuit. Only foreigners were seen in this circuit few years back, but now domestic tourists are also flocking the area. If you are looking for a lifetime trekking experience, then pack your bags for Annapurna trekking circuit. Mardi Base Camp Trek, also part of the Annapurna circuit, is another alternative route for trekkers who can't afford time. Trekkers can be up close with mountains including the Annapurna range, Dhaulagiri, Machapuchre and Manasalu in this circuit. This 7-day circuit is attracting many trekkers for obvious reasons.
This is where art meets thought. Stories we watch and stories that watch us back. Stories that linger not just in the mind, but in that quiet, unspoken space of being human. Welcome to Creative Forum, where art is experienced, not just discussed. I'm Shivani Thapa Bosniak, and from the crossroads of Kathmandu, we're joined in by two extraordinary voices. One from Iran and the other guest from China. Civilizations that have, 4 centuries now, shaped the way humanity tells its stories. From the poetic soul of Persian traditions to the philosophical depth of Chinese thought, these are cultures where storytelling was never merely expression, but reflection, memory, and of course meaning. Professor Sun Zhan, Chinese media scholar exploring global storytelling, and our other guest, Mojtaba Bahadori, an Iranian filmmaker who travels the world finding humanity in the quietest moments of life. Both are in town as jury members of the Nepal International Film Festival 2026. Welcome to Kathmandu to both of you.
Hello to everyone. Hello to Nepal, to Nepalese people, to this wonderful, colorful, amazing culture that I'm very, very happy to be here and very excited actually. I had a chance to go out last days and I was so impressed by everything. People, they are praying in the street, they are moving around, full of the handicraft, full of people, full of movement. It's like a cinema. It's like a total cinema. Very happy to be here.
Nepali people give me, including the smile, the delicious food, and the very lovely students and the friends here.
Just to get started, I'm so curious to know, because both of you travel the world with the great work that you do and the great work that you carry around. Mojtaba, let me turn to you. Why did you pick storytelling?
Storytelling, I think, is a part of our culture as Iranian. So poetry and storytelling is a part of Iranian culture, and we're born with that. I feel like all the Iranians, they're born to be a poet or read poetry and tell a story through their poetry. In the opening of the festival, there was a director of Sholeh. You remember?
Ramesh Sippy, right?
Yes. I was so surprised because I remember I was a child in Shiraz. I born in Shiraz. I grew up in the south of Iran. And it was forbidden to watch foreign films, as it still is a lot of things forbidden in Iran. So people, they would hide video VHS around in a city, and we found a video VHS of the Sholeh. It was one of the first films I watched in my life. I never will forget the scene of the Sardevi.
Hema Malini.
Yeah, the lady, she's dancing on
the Basanti girl, right?
Yeah, in the broken glasses, yeah?
Yes.
It was so impressive how she can do that. Only in cinema you can have those scenes that people, they dance on broken glasses. Yeah, I think the story started by watching films in a very early age. Forbidden films, like anything is not Iranian or is not about Islamic culture, yeah? Which actually they structured our character. When I was a teenager, my father bought me a VHS camera and I started to film things around of myself. I had only one video cassette, so I would film over and over that cassette. You remember, we could put it back or turn it back and then
the cassette tape.
Yeah,
right,
cassette tape, yeah. So I will film one thing and then I would watch it several times, and then I didn't have any other film, so I would film it again on top of that. That started by that and theater. I started to write theater piece when I was 13. Always very, very influenced by things around of me, especially in the Persian culture.
Really amusing to know that your childhood or maybe your growing years were so much similar to that of us here in this side of the world, right? Pretty much amusing. How about China, Professor Shun? Why communications? Why did you even choose to come to this field?
I found, because China is a very large country, there are a lot of people living different places. 30 years ago, at that time, not everybody can speak in Mandarin, even at that time. And we have a lot of mineral races there. But now the things has been changing better and better day by day. And after I got my PhD, I became a lecturer, associate professor, and a professor in my university. I am the head of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. And I love mass communication because I got a PhD for mass communication, and later I choose my research about social media and online media because my university focuses on high-tech knowledge and the computer science, AI technology as well. We have a lot of cooperation between different mayors, and I'm so interested in cross-cultural communication. When I came to Nepal 10 years ago, I was addicted by this country, by Nepali people. I love this country very much. So that's the starting point of my research about cross-cultural communication. And I do appreciate everything.
It's so beautiful to see how Professor Jan enjoys Nepal, right? So both of you are here for NEF, and the one common thing that I really am curious about is you both come from civilizations where storytelling is ancient, it's layered, and it's deeply philosophical, right? And I wonder, when you engage with cinema today or filmmaking today, do you feel you are creating something new, or you're continuing something that has always existed in your cultures?
I think originality is not very important in a storytelling. Your story shouldn't be original, it should be truth. It should be deep and should be personal. So I don't want to tell original stories. I don't try for that. I try to say truth, or to say the stories that is close to my heart, you know. So I think in the end we are repeating the same story of the human being, yeah? But just we have different approach because we have different experience, or we experience the life differently. Yes. And like talking about love, you know, so many poetry about love, but they're all different because they have different approach to love. You know, they see the love in different things, or they try to explore it differently in each of them. I think the storytelling in a film also is the same. Actually, in a jury, as a jury, we have a section that we have to say how original is the film. And this is one of the sections I like the less because that's not really important to me. But for me, what is the impact of the film? You know, this is a part of the jury judge that verdict that I give more importance to it. What was the impact of that film on me as an audience, as a person just was watching it, and also about that, you know, the technical part is very important sometimes to make things impactful, like the sounds, the video, the image, but still is less important than the subject and how we approach the subject, what we are telling, what was the story that we want to tell to our audience. So yeah, I think originality is not very important for me, but being true, yes.
Do you see films as an extension of that, you know, a Persian artistic tradition where meaning is, you know, often found when it is left unsaid? I mean, does your work more focus on the silences between the words and the sounds? This
is what we say in music. A note doesn't have a sense if there is no silence between notes. If you put two notes without silence in a continuity, it's like. But if you do it, there's a silence. So the music burns through the silence. I think the story also burns after the silence is established in a story. So we have this culture of the silence in Iranian cinema, like big names that many people they know, and I see also kind of Nepalese young filmmakers. They are quite familiar to the Iranian cinema. We have a lot of silence in Iranian cinema because we need that to reflect about what we hear. You know, we hear a sentence, then we have to listen to that inside of us also. So yeah, like my last film that was it got the Everest Award here in NIF last year is full of silence because it's a story of a person who questions if the nature creates so perfectly in its imperfection, me as an artist, what I can create that is better than nature. Why we are creating, actually? So the answer is because we need to make sense for our life. Yeah. So I see the storytelling and artistic practice as a need for making sense to our life and also presenting a sense to other people, a proposal to other people. Okay, we can see the life in this way also.
From what I understand, you were born and raised in Iran,
yes.
And then later you shifted base to France, where much of your career has really, expanded and extended. So how has France changed you as a filmmaker?
I think France didn't change me, but what it changed me is the people that they listen to your story. And these people, maybe you can find them in China, in Nepal, in France. So I think I was lucky to be surrounded by people that they are interested in a story that I want to tell. And of course, I'm still very, very attached to the Iranian storytelling, Still, like in my film On Melting Snow, the main story comes from the poetry of the Rumi. So if we are cut from the origin, what will happen to us? Yeah? We will always go back to the origin, especially when we grow. We say, okay, I have to look back who I am. Yeah? The idea of who I am comes from the poetry of the Persian poetry of the Rumi. But then I shoot it in Iceland, partly in Belgium, and partly in North Africa, because I was looking for a very minimalist landscape. So I went to find those landscapes in different places in the world, from the Atlantic, from the north to the south of the planet. I would say French culture and cinema is very open to new voices, is very generous in listening, and I'm very lucky, I think, to be able to be part of that culture for such a long time. Yeah.
Chinese philosophy also has explored, long explored, like ideas of, ideals of balance, harmony, and of course, relationship between individuals and the collective, right? So how do these deeper cultural ideas there shape the ways stories are told?
China has long story in this world, and we have a bunch of philosophers of different sides, and it's related to our mind, to our heart, and to the relations between the families or with the others. And it is very important to keep our mind calm and peaceful. So that's why Chinese people always think balance is the most important thing in our life. And you are right, we think independent is related to your freedom as well. So we are so independent in this world, and we treat the others peacefully. That's why if you can understand that, so you can understand Chinese.
Mostaba, when we speak of Iranian cinema or films, right, it's almost impossible not to think of certain stillness, a certain honesty, right, a way of seeing that both feels so simple and at the same time profoundly layered. And in many ways, that language has certainly been shaped by masters like Abbas Kiarostami, whose classes you are so privileged to have attended. And I'm really curious, besides what he taught you about cinema, what has changed in you in a way that you see the world under his guidance?
I remember the first time I had chance to listen to him directly. He just came back from Africa, and where he made ABC Africa. It was just the beginning of the digital camera, and there was a handycam. You remember the handycam with the small films, yeah? So he asked his producer that is it possible to go to Africa to just see the location, to find the location where I can shoot my film. And they said, okay. So he went there with the two other person, and they started to film kids in an abandoned school, like in a school for kids. And the kids, they was interacting with the camera, those very teenagers. He went back, and he decided to make the film just with the rush that he filmed with his handycam. So no need to take a big camera or whatever. He told us something. He said, if you have a story to tell, don't wait for big cameras, for equipment and those kind of things. Just do it. If you have something to tell, just do it. Why you're waiting? What makes you wait so long, you know? And this is what I saw also in the Nepalese film. I watched, I think, more than over 30 Nepalese film in the section that I was part of it. And I see there is a lot of courageous film that they are telling their story with, you know, the minimum technical equipments, and that makes me so happy, because you can keep it as an idea and wait for the perfect situation, and sometimes never happens. But you can also take a little camera with your friends and just film your grandmother, I don't know, your sister, the people in your village, and tell the story that is important to you. So I'm very happy to see that in a Nepalese film, really. I'm very impressed by that. And also, I think for me, the first thing I learned from Abbas Kiarostami is like, just do it. Don't wait for the perfect situation, because sometimes never you will have it. Just do it.
Thoughts of a true creator, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And even in your work, we can see a lot of simplicity of the similar kind, inspired maybe by Abbas Kiarostami. So is minimalism for you, or Saba, an aesthetic choice, or is it a philosophical one?
I think if you want to emphasize one subject, you need to decide what you don't want to talk about it, right? It's like in a conversation, yeah? If I want to talk about the human condition in a certain place, why I have to talk about the things that is not connected to human condition? So I think in the end, for being more precise, you need to be minimalist. You need to choose in the end. And, you know, I think in the end, for having clear mind also, you need to, what we do in a meditation, right? We try to just focus. Concentrate on our respiration, concentrate on the minimum that calls existence, right? I think the film for me also is the same. If I want to talk about the subject, I would like to make it just that, you know, put it there like a good chef cuisine, yeah? You put little things there, then when you eat it, you feel it, you know. This is the idea.
Wow. I can listen to you like the entire day. It's interesting, right? This idea of saying more, you know, with less, you know, of trusting the audience, right?
Yes.
The minimalist approach in filmmaking, it's the purity with which that is portrayed is so beautiful to any aspirant or people who love real film and drama. Professor Zan, from your perspective as a media scholar, in today's very fast and very content-driven world, is there still space for this kind of quiet and very contemplative film?
Yes, and I think the quiet is a kind of power, because it's from our mind. I do agree. Mashtaba says the truth is the most important thing in this world, even including the films, the fiction films, both fiction films and documentary films. And this year, I bring Xizang Panorama to Nepal again, and this is a second Xizang Panorama. And last year, I'm a jury and organizer, and this year I am a director as well. And because we listened to our audiences here last year, I found I should present a new Xizang to our audiences. Tell the world what's the truth in Xizang, how developed it is now. Because Xizang is a modern society, it has a high-speed train, bullet trains there. It has a lot of high-speed road, highways there, and the environment is still very good. We protect our environment very well in Xizang. We protected the lakes, the mountains, and the animals there. There is a story about a snow leopard. It will screen this afternoon. That's about how we deal with the relationship between the protected environment and the people's financial right. Because a snow leopard will go to the local people's house, around the house. The snow leopard ate the sheep. How can we deal with that? because according to our policy, we have the compensation. The people can get the money back from the government, but still the local people felt angry about the ship's death, something like that. And from Nepal to China, we have the similar situation about the environment protection. And we also invited 9 young persons from 6 countries, from United States, Russia, Morocco, Italy, Cambodia, and Nepal. The 9 people visited Xizang this January, so we shoot a short documentary film about their visiting. They went to they experienced the new electronic cars, electronic vans. They have the test driving on the highway, and they also took the bullet train, and they went to the electricity power station and see all the development there. And they also experienced the bubble tea with other young generation, because in past times, Xizang people enjoy the butter tea with salt, but it's salty. But nowadays, more people like sweet butter tea, and some people also enjoy the sweet bubble tea. That's very interesting, because the people there are having a new and modern life right now, and the culture and the philosophy is not stopped by the history, and every day is new, and I think the tradition is also on the way day by day.
So you mean to say that despite all the high-speed content
Yes.
trend that is ongoing, still the real-life experience is real and it's more important?
Yes.
Right? And why did you, besides promotion, Professor San, why did you choose to come back with the Xizang panorama to Nepal, to Nepal?
Yeah, Xizang panorama is very important because we releasing 6 films every year about Xizang, and Xizang is a border part between Nepal and China, and between the Himalaya regions and Himalaya mountains. We are really like the families and brothers. We are relatives and neighbors. That's very important for us to know each other. And there are some traditional and cultural aspects are the same between our Xizang culture and the Nepali culture. So we want to, approach the communication between the people in 2 countries.
Mustafa, the same question to you. How is the current trend of media, especially on the consumption side, where they're so fascinated into high speed and scandalized contents, affected you as a filmmaker, or has it even affected you?
Yeah, what Professor says is very, very right. The culture is not an object that doesn't move. It's something that constantly changes and is a part of this, heritage. The heritage is made every day. And what I see also, go back to the Nepalese film, I see like there is this really nationalism and this strong interest and respect for Nepalese culture via like Nepalese filmmaker, but in the same time, in a lot of films they try to change things, like the habits that exist in the families, the old culture that is not good for, So I think they are making culture by respecting their own culture. This is a constant change. The culture is born every single day, yeah? Yes. So I think also the speed, this fast culture is a part of the culture, yeah? The thing is going fast. But back to minimalism, you have to choose what do you want, yeah? So do you want to be constantly exposed by this fast world, or you decide to go with your own speed in the road that you choose to be in it, right? I'm like, it's very easy to be lost, to lose yourself, your mind in this fast world. I think it's necessary to have different type of cinema. I don't think one cinema is cinema and the rest is not cinema. Everything is cinema, every different style of the cinema. But some people, they like this one and some the other one, and it's fine, totally fine. Yeah, I think, you know, this very slow cinema is like a reading Roman in old time, like a War and Peace of Tolstoy. It's like I tried to read it like maybe 20 times in my life. Always I went until the half, I didn't finish it, you know. So it's the time that, you know, there was in North Russia, it was cold and there was no internet, you couldn't go out. There was snow until here behind of your door. You could read books like this, but today it's more difficult to read books like 5 over 2. So I think by your situation, you have to choose your speed also, you know. And it shouldn't be one thing and tomorrow not, you know. You can change. It's fine to change. It's very good to change. We have to be open to change. But my own cinema is a cinema that is impactful and is making me to think and brings me new question. You know, I watched this film yesterday in opening, the Iranian film. It's a wonderful film. Yes. It's about a man who wants to find a laptop for his daughter to be able to finalize her animation film, you know. 2 different words, but it's about a computer, about creating alone in your own room. So this is an impactful film. I love it. And it's quite, you know, maybe a bit fast for me, but still, I love it. It's impactful.
So let's continue talking about NEF, which brings you all to Kathmandu, right? So this place for many, as we have perceived from the feedbacks that we've been receiving from a long time, people in many ways find so many stories unfolding here, right? So, but you are both creative people in communications and filmmaking. So as you arrived here, not as tourists, but as storytellers, what was that thing that you took note of that perhaps others might have overlooked?
In the films?
No, in Kathmandu.
Right? I didn't still have so much chance to, you know, to discover the city. But, you know, it's a very kind and very attentive culture. It's a culture to make you comfortable and welcome you. I felt it since the first day I arrived here. And also, everyone does what they can to find a solution if there is a problem. So I love that. And I really, yesterday for opening, we was crossing this shopping mall. And I was seeing there is, you know, while I was going up, there was some people, they were selling sunglasses, but they were watching in their YouTube a video of dance, and I was like, so amazing. Now I'm going for opening of the festival of the country, and I see the real life while I'm in stairs. So it's a very true festival, true people, and the way they do it is very true, and I love that.
And how about the festival?
Festivals, films, you know, so far what I watched, I'm impressed. I think, you know, last year when my film got the awards, when I couldn't be here, still I didn't have a clear idea about Nepali cinema. But I was very happy to have an award called Everest Award. That was the name of the award that I received last year. And I was like, I definitely have to, you know, find the opportunity to go there. And when they invited me as a jury, I was, you know, I didn't hesitate even for a second. And the film, the Nepalese film, in particular, young Nepalese young filmmakers, they have so much things to say, and they have so much things to change respectfully toward their own culture. And we see that through the film. I'm very happy. I'm very happy to see the films. It's very impactful.
Professor Jeanne, for you, Nepal, Kathmandu is like second home, right?
Yes.
So, yes. I mean, like, does Kathmandu feel familiar to you, or does it surprise you every time you come back?
Yeah, actually, every time Kathmandu surprised me a lot. And in recent years, I came back again and again, and I saw the changes by my own eyes. And every time I came back, I found the streets cleaner and cleaner. And I think the Nepali economy is raising up year by year. That's the happiest thing to me. And the Nepali friends are so kind and friendly, especially the common person on the street. Most of them are very friendly to you. Some kids will say hello to you, and some including the girls and boys. And every time I was touched by some flowers and plants, and then because every time I came here in different seasons, I saw different flowers. Sometimes I was touched by the flowers blossom in the corner or on the street or just on the window. I think that's the happiness about Nepali's common person's life, daily life, and I also very grateful for the changes of the cafeteria. And here we can experience different kind of foods, including Korean cuisine, Japanese cuisine, Italian cuisine,
Chinese.
Yes, Chinese, some snacks here, and Chinese noodles are popular here, and the prices are not expensive. The local young people tell me they love Chinese cuisine, especially from my hometown. I was born in Chongqing, a mountain city in China.
That's an amazing city that we see, right, on all those videos.
Yes, I showed you before, and it is called AD Digital City. It's amazing, and one day I hope you to visit there. And I think, according to my opinion, Nepal will getting better, will be better and better in the future. Yeah, and the young generation, their how to say, their appearance is really active. Yeah, I like it.
Right, thank you. So before we wrap this up, there is one section where I get to ask you quick questions, and I request, you to give me very quick answers, maybe a word or just something that comes, to your mind right away.
Silence is accepted.
Sorry. I wish not. All right. So the first one is one film that made you feel deeply human, Moshtaba.
A Man Without Past, after Aki Kaurismäki.
Is this an Iranian film?
No, it's a Finnish film. From Finland. Yeah.
Wow. How about you, Professor Shun?
A Snow Leopard.
The Snow Leopard. Okay. Wow. Silence in cinema or music?
Silence.
Silence.
Silence. A story you will carry with you from Kathmandu?
Being grateful.
People.
Grace. Yeah.
Wow.
Love story.
Wow. Okay. One word for Kathmandu.
The smell of oud is not one word, but the smell of this, what they turn on in a praying, the oud.
The incense. The incense.
Yeah, the smell of incense. Yeah.
Joyful.
Joyful. All right. Story first or image first?
A story.
Story.
How do you see cinema today? Overwhelming or evolving?
Evolving.
One thing young filmmakers should hold on to?
Keep doing it. Yeah.
Don't stop.
Don't stop, yeah.
AI technology.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for your valuable time, for taking the time to come over to NTV World Studios and being there at NIF. And yes, do continue your great job and keep inspiring us all the way.
Thank you very much for hosting us.
Yeah,
thank you. So it's our great honor. Yeah, thank you.
In the quiet between the poetic silence and the academic vision that I talked about, the two valuable voices that we had with us here in our studios, we really found a shared heartbeat, even among themselves. For the shadows of Tehran to the lights of Kathmandu, we are certainly reminded that while the world may break, the story remains whole. Thank you for being part of this Creative Forum episode, and until next time, this is Shivani Thapa, Busnet, signing off. Goodbye.
Shall we start now?
I'll try my best.
Okay. Your best performance, okay?
The most important innings for me would be the Nepal versus Hong Kong game. And I scored 41 runs because that match, it was one step into the World Cup. And for me, I remember going into that game, I thought I'll not hit the ball in the air at all because if I stayed in the crease and scored runs, meant that Nepal had better chances of winning. And those 41 runs in that game would probably be the most valuable innings that I've ever played, where I got run out. That every run, if I think of it now, would probably be the time when I took the most pressure during my whole 20 years of career. But those would be the most important runs of my career.
Best Nepali batsman of all time?
It's difficult. Why? Because I have seen a lot of great players, and you look at the current batch of cricketers, meant that everyone's been performing exceptionally well. If I really had to pick one name, just from a talent perspective, who did not play as much for Nepal but was extremely talented, was Sandeep Shrestha. He played few matches for Nepal, but just looking at him, he was so casual at how he played the sport.
I can't agree with you anymore. Best coach you have played under?
If I really had to pick one person, would be Pubdu, because that transformation of Nepal cricket from 11 to 16 while he was here, and we qualifying for the World Cup was an important moment.
Most difficult opponent you have played against?
Obviously, Afghanistan and Nepal always, gets compared. I remember playing Afghanistan's first match in 2005, and then they wanted to become a test playing nation in 2016.
Best bowler you have faced, or the most difficult bowler you have ever faced?
I think Basant Rigmi easily is the best bowler that I played. I keep saying Sandeep played the IPL, he's gone on to play all leagues all over the world, he's been phenomenal. But Basant Rigmi, if let's say had got the platform back in the day, from a fast bowler who turned into a left arm spinner, probably the best bowler that I have faced, and at one point he was probably the best left arm spinner and somebody who nobody could hit.
Best upcoming talent?
I think Gulshan Jha, the potential that he has as an all-rounder, and he's left-handed. Obviously, there's a lot more things that he needs to add up into his game, but he has potential to really grow into something.
Best Nepali bowler?
Would be Binod Das. I think he was probably the best fast bowler that I played. I mean, Sompal and Karan have carried the nation's burden for the last 10 years, but Binod Das was probably the best fast bowler.
He was the leading fast bowler in the associate countries at his peak as well. 2014 T20 World Cup qualification or 2018 ODI status?
It has to be the World Cup, and I really can't pick between the two. Why? Because the ODI status is important for the overall setup of how a cricket nation functions at the associate world, but qualifying for the World Cup and playing the World Cup meant that cricket became important to this nation. So I would definitely pick the World Cup.
Best ever performance under your captaincy, Nepal's?
3 matches we played at the World Cup.
14 World Cup.
Because at the global stage, we never played under floodlights. We went into Dubai a week ago. And also when you are young, I think we were a young team. We had no fears. We were a strong unit, backed by good coaching. Whatever that we had, we were happy about it. And that moment where we were presented in front of the world, we did not crumble. Playing against Hong Kong, playing against Afghanistan, and competing against Bangladesh, meant that that is when we made our first significant impact. So those 3 matches would probably be the best performance. But if you go through the Division 5, 4, 3-2 cycle,
more.
I mean, every tournament has its own story, and it has been an incredible journey.
Best batsman in world cricket you admire?
Has to be Brian Charles Lara. Got to see him in Nepal as well, so he was a genius.
He was a genius. Best all-rounder in world cricket?
Jack Callis, easily.
All right.
When you look at his batting stats, his bowling stats, there's no comparison to what he has achieved.
Exactly. Best bowler in world cricket all time?
Shane Warne. I'll probably say he's the greatest cricketer that played the sport.
True. You are a big Aussie fan as well?
I follow the Australian cricket team.
Best captain in world cricket all time?
if I really have to go back old school, would have to be Stephen Fleming. Fleming was a great leader, left-handed batter,
the New Zealand, the Kiwi captain.
Is still coaching the Chennai Super. A great cricket mind, and even Ricky Ponting. If you think of the fact that he had to lead this team of gladiators and had to captain them, Steve Waugh led by examples day in day. But if I had to pick one person, if it's a name, Stephen Fleming. Although he didn't win championships, but had a lot of respect with everybody around and still does.
Paras, let's sit down now. Let's create Nepal's all-time 11, all formats.
It's going to be difficult.
It's going to be difficult. Let's try.
Sandeep Shrestha is opening. Then you'd probably pick maybe Kushal
Bhutel. Parishloni opening. Fantastic.
2. Then number 3 would be Gyanendra Malla.
Superb.
Number 4.
Let's try.
Number 4 would be Dipender Singh Airi.
Dipender Singh Airi, of course.
Number 4.
Okay.
Sarat Besagar at 5.
5.
Raju Khadka at 6.
6.
Then Sakti Gauchan at 7.
7.
Basant Ragmi at 8.
8.
Sandeep Lamichhane at 9. Binod Das.
Okay.
And it'll be difficult between Sompal and Karan.
All right.
Because both of them, so depending on the format, because both have been great match winners, which means that if it's ODI, I would pick Sompal.
Being diplomatic here.
If it's ODI, I mean if it's T20, I would pick Karan. So that's the playing 11. Sandeep
Shrestha, number 1.
Kushal Bhutel, Gyanendra Malla at 3, Dipender Singh Airi at 4, Sarat Besagar at 5, Raju Khadka at 6, Sakti Gauchan at 7, Basant Ragmi at 8, Sandeep Lamichhane at 9, Binod Das at 10, and 11 would be
either Sompal or
Karan.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, all-rounders, please rank. Raju Khadka?
1. Dipender Singh Airi 2.
All right.
Sakti Gauchan 3.
All right.
Gulshan Jha 4.
All right.
Mehboob Alam at 5. So
Mehboob Alam at 5.
Nepal has numerous places and monuments of historical, archaeological, religious, cultural, and natural significance. Among them, one is Bodhanath Stupa that lies in the northeast of Kathmandu. This world-famous stupa is the property of ancient arts and culture. It is also the property of Buddhist civilization. This region, spread in about 7,630 square meter area, is about 7 kilometers far from Kathmandu Darbar Square. It is about 100 feet in radius and has a height of about 141.8 feet. Its date of construction is not yet exactly ascertained. However, some theories based on some myths, chronology, and some written scriptures of Guru Padmasambhava are popular. The stupa, which is the largest stupa in the world, is believed to be constructed with the remains of Kashyapa Buddha in it. This stupa, also considered as the symbol of Trikal Buddha's heart, harbors thousands of devotees and visitors every day. Furthermore, with the enlistment of the stupa in the UNESCO's World Heritage List, its fame has skyrocketed. Despite the fact that majority of residents around the stupa are from Tamang community, there are also people from other communities like Newar, Sherpa, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Tibetans, and so on. This very feature symbolizes unity and diversity. The history of Bodhanath Stupa. The history of its construction is still mysterious. However, different myths, chronicles regarding its establishment are popular. As per the scripture of Guru Padmasambhava, Bodhanath is called Jarung Khashor in Tibetan language. According to a myth, an angel named Purnima Gangchungma was born in earth as a punishment for stealing flower in heaven. She was born in a place in Nepal as Jajima, a daughter of poultry farmer. Later, when she grew up, she got married to a horse trader. After the birth of a son, the horse trader died. She then got married to a pig trader. After the birth of a son, the pig trader too died. Then after, she married a dog trader. He too died after the birth of a son. Finally, she got married to a poultry farmer. He too died after the birth of a son. The mother of 4 sons then got involved in poultry farm and amassed a bigger fortune. After her sons got married, she still had a bigger chunk of wealth and she decided to devote herself in religious rites. Then a thought of establishing a stupa was emerged in her mind. She then pleaded the king to allot some land to make this stupa. The king responded to her demand positively. However, a widow willing to perform a larger kind of pious work was intolerable to the wealthy people of that community. They then went to the king pleading him to stop the project. Since the king had already promised her, he denied going as per their request. Due to this reason, the word Kashwar was added to the name, which means slipped promise. And finally, it became Jarung Kashwar. In Tibetan language, Ja means a year of the bird. The construction was said to be initiated and ended in the same year of bird after 12 years. So it is believed to be called Jarung Kashwar. Jajima died 4 years after the start of the project. Then her 4 sons continued the project. Due to their pious work, those 4 sons are reincarnated as Holy King Trisong Duchen, great Buddhist preacher Shanta Rakshit, Guru Padmasambhava, and religious minister Bami Thiser in Tibet, and had worked for the establishment of Buddhism according to a myth. According to a belief, Bodhanath Stupa was constructed in around 5th century. It is said that the stupa was discovered in the era of Lichavi king Shivadev. Some Buddhists believe that, like Swayambhunath, Bodhanath was also self-created. According to a chronicle written by Daniel Wright, the stupa was constructed by King Manadeva I, which was started in 464 AD and completed in 505 AD. It was later destroyed by Mughal king and later reconstructed. It is coated with thousands of grams of gold. Water is filled in the stupa's pond in every 12 years. And in every 12 years, there's a carnival to observe the Bodhanath pond. During the carnival, thousands of Buddhist devotees, either local or foreign, visit the spot to see the pond and take the water out from the pond. It is believed that whosoever sees the pond and drink water from it will have his or her illness remedied, and healthy people will gain immunity to fight against the diseases. A Chinese lama is appointed by the Guti Sansthan that belongs to the government of Nepal, whereas the Ministry of Culture and Tourism has established Bodhanath Area Development Committee that looks after Bodhanath and performs all the necessary renovations of the stupa. This stupa is based on the practice of Mahayana Buddhism. It is also taken as the symbol of Chintamani. As per the Buddhist model of construction, bricks, mud, stones, wood, copper and gold were used to construct the stupa. It has 5 layers of construction, which are considered as the 5 elements of nature that are needed for the creation. The upper portion of the stupa from the ground level is considered as the earth. The core above it is considered water. 13 Bhuvan symbolizes fire, Chatravali symbolizes air, and the topmost dome indicates the sky. There's a ring road that encircles the stupa. Buddhists encircle the shrine chanting Om Mani Padme Hum. It is believed that chanting the mantra will free oneself from all miseries and will finally achieve salvations from the heaven, hell, earth, and other places. There are 6 such places in total according to Buddhism. Different statues of Bodhisattva are placed in different parts of the stupa. Mantras are written in each statue. There are 108 different parts in the stupa, and a statue of different gods and goddesses rests in each part. There are 108 total statues placed on those parts. Its dome is considered as the symbol of the universe. The 2 eyes in each direction is called Harmika. Harmika indicates the 4 noble truths and 8 rightfold paths. These peaceful and thoughtful eyes also symbolize knowledge and measures to rid from evil. It is believed that the gaze of the eyes will rid oneself from sex, anger, greed, attachment, jealousy, gluttony, and pain, and will take the mind to bliss, non-violence, and positivity. The question mark-like symbol below the eyes symbolizes nirvana, and the dot symbolizes wisdom. There are 13 more stories above the Harmika. These 13 stories indicate the 13 places after life that Bodhisattva crosses. After the 13th story lies a gold-plated copper lotus. The flower symbolizes softness, purity, kindness. Then after lies Chatravali's, which is considered as a protector of the stupa. The top part of the stupa is considered as the symbol of Sumeru mountain, which indicates greatness. It is believed that after reaching the peak, one is supposed to attain nirvana, shunyata. Buddhist devotees pray to the shrine, seeking welfare not just for themselves but for the entire living creatures. Nepal signed the World Heritage Conservation Treaty to renovate of different cultural and religious heritages with the aid of UNESCO in 1978. By 1979, 7 places inside the Kathmandu Valley were listed in the World Heritage List. One of those 7 heritages is Bodhanath. Different festivals and jatras are celebrated in Bodhanath every year. Among them, one is Mamla Jatra. It is also called Azim Jatra. There is no authentic documentation regarding the origin of this jatra, yet oral tradition says it had begun in the 8th century after Guru Rinpoche Azim was established as the protector of this area.
र यो जात्रा चाहिँ विशेष गरेर ममको स्मरणमा ममको सम्झनामा मनाउने गरिन्छ।
Likewise, a day before Chaitra Purnima, Temal Jatra is observed. This Jatra is celebrated especially by Tamang community. During this Jatra, Tamangs from Kathmandu and neighboring districts visit the place and ignite lights in the loving memory of their deceased relatives. There's a tradition of giving alms and donations after the completion of puja. They also sing Tamang Selo and dance with the song. Vaisakh Purnima celebrates Buddha Jayanti. This is the day on which Lord Buddha was born, got enlightenment, and received Mahaparinirvana. There is a special puja on this day for the same reason. In the like manner, people perform plantation of paddy as the festival during the month of July-August. This Jatra is a part and parcel of Buddhist identity. People light lights in the memory of their deceased relatives on this Jatra as well. On Mangsir and Paush, October, November and December, January, people celebrate the Dasami Cheju Puja related to Guru Rinpoche. Losar, which is New Year, is also celebrated in a grand way. Special carnival is observed here during Sonam Losar. Similarly, after death of a Buddhist in the area, the deceased body is taken around the mortal remains is taken around the shrine and then cremated. It is believed that taking the body around the shrine will free the deceased person from all the worldly and afterlife sufferings. These festivals and celebrations are no doubt a continuation of Buddhist culture, but are equally useful in preserving the Buddhist culture as well as for the promotion of tourism. This World Heritage Site has religious, historical and cultural significance. It is our responsibility to promote this holy place as a beautiful tourist destination for the visitors from all over the world and work for the preservation of it as well. China and Russia have reaffirmed their strategic partnership during high-level talks in Beijing, with both sides pledging closer cooperation in foreign policy, trade, energy, and global governance. Chinese President Xi Jinping said both countries must support the United Nations and oppose all acts of unilateral bullying, stressing that major powers should uphold international fairness and resist attempts to reverse the outcomes of World War II.
我提出构建人类命运共同体理念和4大全球倡议，得到包括俄罗斯在内的国际社会广泛支持。作为联合国安理会常任理事国，中俄两国要坚定履行负责任大国使命担当，捍卫联合国权威和国际公平正义，反对一切单边霸凌和开历史倒车的行径。
Xi also called for opposition to what he described as provocative actions that deny historical outcomes of World War II while advocating reforms to global governance systems. Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia and China are committed to an independent and sovereign foreign policy, describing bilateral relations as stable, constructive, and not dependent on global conditions.
И сейчас российско-китайские отношения достигли действительно беспрецедентного уровня, продолжают развиваться. При этом наши отношения самодостаточны, не зависят от текущей мировой конъюнктуры и служат образцом того, как нужно строить отношения между странами и народами в настоящее время. Что касается сегодняшних переговоров, то они прошли в традиционно теплой, товарищеской и конструктивной атмосфере. Обстоятельно обсуждены все ключевые направления двустороннего взаимодействия. Главное, Россия и Китай привержены независимой и самостоятельной внешней политике, действуют в тесной стратегической связке, играют важную стабилизирующую роль на мировой арене. Работаем вместе во имя мира и всеобщего процветания.
Putin added that both countries aim to play a stabilizing role in global affairs through closer coordination, as the two leaders signed a series of agreements covering trade, media, and energy cooperation. However, the long-discussed Power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline project remained unresolved, with officials indicating only a basic understanding on routing, but no final timeline or agreement on key details. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is appealing for greater international support as authorities intensify efforts to contain a worsening Ebola outbreak. The World Health Organization has delivered 12 tons of medical supplies, including protective equipment for frontline health workers, while more than 40 medical experts arrived in Bunia in eastern Ituri province on Tuesday. Speaking in Kinshasa, Health Minister Samuel Roger Kamba warned that declining international assistance could weaken both emergency response efforts and scientific research.
On a besoin de l'aide internationale. Les virus nous concernent tous. Et donc, c'est à nous tous de nous lever pour pouvoir nous entraider. Et c'est dommage que l'aide baisse, parce que cette aide qui baisse, la conséquence, c'est que nous avons moins de protection pour les infirmières. Nous avons moins de recherche scientifique.
The Ebola outbreak has renewed concerns over fragile healthcare systems in conflict-affected regions of Central Africa, where humanitarian agencies say medical resources remain severely stretched. Myanmar's military says it has captured the southern border town of Ma Tuang near Thailand, marking another strategic gain in the country's prolonged civil war. State media reported the town was retaken after a 2-week military offensive involving more than 200 clashes months after resistance fighters seized control of the area. Although Ma Tuang is a relatively small trading route, the military says reopening the crossing could restore cross-border transport and trade with neighboring Thailand. Myanmar has remained engulfed in conflict since the military overthrew the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi in 2021, triggering nationwide armed resistance by ethnic militias and pro-democracy groups. The latest battlefield gains come as Myanmar's junta also seeks greater regional legitimacy following a controversial election widely criticized by democracy observers as lacking credibility. The United Nations Security Council has condemned a drone attack on the Baraka nuclear power plant in the United Arab Emirates, calling for de-escalation and accountability amid rising regional tensions. The UAE said the strike originated from Iraq, where pro-Iranian proxy groups are believed to be active, raising concerns over broader regional spillover risks involving multiple state and non-state actors.
And we have to ask ourselves, what responsible, what sane nation, either directly or indirectly through proxies, sends drone attacks into an active and ongoing nuclear power plant? But
Russia also joined other council members in condemning the attack, warning that such incidents risk escalating instability in an already volatile region.
На этом фоне наша страна категорически осуждает действия тех, кто нанес удар по АЭС на территории Объединенных Арабских Эмиратов и тем самым создал риски эскалации, грозящие обернуться дальнейшим подрывом региональной и глобальной безопасности.
The Council urged all parties to prevent further attacks on nuclear facilities. Stressing the need to avoid actions that could endanger civilian infrastructure and regional security. Former German Chancellor Angela Merkel has urged the European Union to maintain strict regulation of social media platforms and artificial intelligence, warning that democratic values are under growing pressure from digital misinformation. Speaking at an award ceremony at the European Parliament, Merkel said the rise of social media has blurred the line between facts and falsehoods, creating risks for the foundations of democratic systems.
Freiheit ohne Demokratie wird es nicht geben. Und auch die Demokratie steht unter Druck. Und hier will ich nur einen Bereich nennen, bei dem die Europäische Union heute für mich Vorreiter ist. Das ist die Entwicklung der sogenannten sozialen Medien, in denen plötzlich Fakten nicht mehr Fakten sind, Wahrheiten Lügen genannt werden können, Lügen Wahrheiten, in denen Gefühle und Fakten vermischt werden und damit die grundlegenden Lagen der europäischen Aufklärung in Gefahr geraten. Und dies alles.
The comments come amid growing global debate over how governments should regulate rapidly advancing AI tools and online platforms without restricting free expression. A strong earthquake has struck southern Japan, shaking parts of the Okinawa region, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. The agency says the magnitude 5.9 quake occurred near Okinawa main island at a depth of around 50 kilometers, with the strongest shaking recorded in Yoron town in Kagoshima prefecture. Officials confirmed there is no tsunami threat, but warned residents to remain alert for possible aftershocks in the coming days. A meteorological official said areas that experienced strong tremors should be prepared for further quakes of similar intensity over the next week, particularly within the next 2 to 3 days. Authorities also cautioned that landslides and falling rocks could occur in the hardest hit areas due to ground instability. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Rome's historic Colosseum with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni following his arrival in Italy for high-level bilateral talks. The visit comes as India and Italy seek to deepen cooperation in trade, energy, technology and strategic connectivity between Europe and the Indo-Pacific region. Modi and Meloni also held a dinner meeting ahead of formal discussions scheduled for Wednesday at Villa Pamphili in Rome. The Indian leader is additionally expected to meet Italian President Sergio Mattarella during the official visit. The talks reflect growing diplomatic engagement between India and European partners amid shifting global economic and geopolitical priorities. Finland is preparing to begin operations at what is expected to be the world's first deep geological repository for spent nuclear fuel, located nearly 500 meters underground in the country's southwest. The facility, known as Onkalo, meaning cave in Finnish, has been under construction since 2004 and is designed to store up to 6,500 tons of highly radioactive waste. Officials say the site will operate for about 100 years, but stress that the storage system must remain safe for thousands of years due to the long lifespan of nuclear material. Experts involved in the project say operations could begin either by the end of this year or early next year, pending final approvals and testing. The project is being closely watched globally as a potential model for long-term nuclear waste management. France has warned that terrorist organizations are increasingly exploiting new financial technologies, including cryptocurrencies, to move funds across borders with greater anonymity. Speaking at the No Money for Terror conference in Paris, Finance Minister Roland Lescure said recent global studies show extremist groups are actively using crypto assets, highlighting the need for safeguards without stifling innovation.
This is a concern we all share. All recent Financial Action Task Force studies show that terrorist organizations have fully embraced new financial technologies, starting, of course, with crypto assets. Technologies that guarantee opacity and anonymity are inevitably attractive to criminal organizations seeking to move funds discreetly across borders. We have solutions, they exist, to support the healthy development of these technologies. We shouldn't stop technology from developing, we just have to make sure that it's used for the right use. We need to protect.
French President Emmanuel Macron also called for stronger international regulation of crypto assets, warning that weak oversight could allow misuse for terrorist financing and organized crime.
Plusieurs pays représentés aujourd'hui ont clairement alerté, à juste titre, sur les porosités qui existent entre financement du terrorisme et criminalité organisée. Nous l'avons constaté, nous l'avons fait avancer sur l'agenda national. Le GAFI, d'ailleurs, a toujours été vigilant à cet égard. Et c'est pourquoi il nous faut maintenant bâtir des coopérations nouvelles pour renforcer notre action.
Macron added that while digital financial tools bring innovation, their pseudonymous nature can also be exploited, making stronger global coordination essential to prevent abuse. A group of pilgrims from Turkmenistan has departed for Saudi Arabia to perform the annual Hajj pilgrimage, one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Before leaving, the pilgrims visited the Hazrat Omar Mosque in Ashgabat as part of traditional pre-departure rituals ahead of the journey to the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. The pilgrims will join millions of Muslims from around the world who gather in Saudi Arabia during the Hajj period, which coincides with the upcoming Eid al-Adha celebrations. During their stay, they will perform religious rituals, including the circumambulation of the Kaaba and prayers for the well-being and prosperity of their homeland. The pilgrimage is considered a once-in-a-lifetime obligation for Muslims who are physically and financially able to undertake the journey. Personal belongings of late actor Matthew Perry, best known for playing Chandler Bing in the television sitcom Friends, are being auctioned in the United States. The collection includes scripts from the globally popular series, artwork by Banksy, and dozens of other items linked to Perry's personal and professional life. Auction organizers say around 130 lots have been placed on sale, with proceeds supporting the Matthew Perry Foundation, which focuses on addiction recovery assistance. Perry died in 2023 at the age of 54 after publicly speaking for years about his struggles with substance addiction. Organizers say the auction is intended not only to honor Perry's legacy in entertainment, but also to continue his efforts to help people facing addiction challenges. As Russia's war in Ukraine continues, conservationists and volunteers say growing numbers of birds are being injured or displaced by fighting along the front lines. Environmental groups warn that constant drone activity, missile strikes, and artillery fires are disrupting fragile ecosystems across the roughly 1,200-kilometer battlefield. Bird nesting areas and migratory routes have been damaged as skies once used by wildlife are increasingly dominated by military aircraft and surveillance drones. Volunteers and some Ukrainian soldiers have joined rescue efforts to treat injured birds and protect surviving habitats in conflict-affected regions. Environmental experts say the war is not only causing a humanitarian crisis, but also leaving long-term ecological damage that could affect regional biodiversity for years. Thousands of dead jellyfish have washed ashore along the upper lagoon of the Gulf of Tehuantepec in Mexico's Oaxaca state following a sharp rise in sea temperatures. Marine biologist Francisco Javier Lopez says changing water conditions combined with strong southern weather systems and high tides likely trapped the jellyfish inside the lagoon, where they were unable to return to open waters. Experts warn the mass die-off could create environmental problems as decomposing jellyfish affect water quality and produce strong odors along coastal communities. Scientists also fear the incident could disrupt the local ecosystems by forcing fish and other marine organisms to migrate away from affected areas. The event comes amid broader concerns over rising ocean temperatures and the growing impact of climate change on marine biodiversity worldwide. Arsenal fans have erupted in celebration in North London after the club secured its first Premier League title in 22 years, ending a long wait since their 2004 invincible season. Thousands gathered around the Emirates Stadium as supporters marked a landmark victory under manager Mikel Arteta following 3 consecutive seasons of finishing as runners-up. Fans described disbelief and joy at the achievement, with many saying the victory felt unreal after years of near misses in the title race. The triumph restores Arsenal to the top of the English football and is being seen as a major milestone in the club's modern era. The celebrations mark one of the most emotional fan responses in recent Premier League history, reflecting the significance of ending a 2-decade title drought.
Votekosi and Trisuli river rafting. Rafting has lately been gaining popularity among tourists. The adventure sport, which previously was popular only among foreigners, is now drawing the local tourists as well. Trisuli and Votekosi rivers that are close to Kathmandu are 2 popular destinations for rafting in Bagmati province. Let us first explore Votekosi. Whitewater rafting at Votekosi river is included among the 10 best adventure destinations for rafting in the world. Votekosi, which is well facilitated with food and accommodation, can be a great destination for rafting and other adventure sports. Rafting at Trisuli River is popular among domestic tourists, as the location can be reached in an hour from Kathmandu. This is where most tourists go for rafting in Nepal. Rafting packages of Votekosi and Trisuli are appropriate for those who want to spend some good time for a few days. A majestic destination blessed by cultural, religious, historic and natural diversities. Nepal is the country of Mount Everest and the birthplace of Lord Gautama Buddha. Karnali is synonymous to Nepal. One can experience the diversity of Nepal by visiting Karnali province. It is a must-go destination for those who want to experience the real Nepal. Karnali, that represents Nepal's age-old civilization, is in itself mesmerizing. The province has immense tourism potential with its unique natural, religious, cultural, archaeological and historic diversity. The famous tourist destinations in the province have played an important role in representing Nepal at the international level. Tourism can be the base for prosperity of Karnali region based on its immense prospects. Lakes, water bodies and famous religious sites are the major attractions for tourists in this province. Rara Lake, Sefoksundu Lake, Bulbule Lake, Chayanath, Dai Lake, Sinja Valley, Humla. This is Rara. Rara is the largest lake in Nepal. The lake is situated at Chayanath Rural Municipality of Mugu District in the Rara National Park. The unique lake is not just known for the different species of rare fishes and the musk ducks, but also for the changing color as per the climatic condition. Many foreign tourists come here to witness the camouflage of this majestic lake. A virgin destination a few years back. Now, more than 50,000 tourists flock the Rara Lake every year, and the number is constantly on the rise. Land and air are the two means to reach Rara Lake. You can reach Rara in a day from Kathmandu by air. From Tribhuvan International Airport, Kathmandu to Nepalganj, and another flight from Nepalganj to Talcher Airport in Mugu is the easiest option. However, from Talcher, it is another 3 hours uphill walk to reach the breathtaking Rara Lake. If you choose land travel, it might take up to 3 days. A day's travel from Kathmandu to Surkhet, an overnight stay. Manma, the district headquarters of Kalikot, from Surkhet, an overnight stay, and on the third day you can reach the Rara Lake. You need not walk if you choose this route for Rara Lake. Humla is a very remote Himalayan district of Nepal bordering Mugu. It has great touristic importance. Many pilgrims who want to go to the mythical Kailas mountain via Mansarovar take the journey via Humla district. Tourists, mainly Indian pilgrims, travel to Mansarovar, one of the largest pure water bodies at the highest altitude in the world, for religious purposes. This is the shortest and the most convenient route for the pilgrims. Most of the pilgrims traveling to Mansarovar choose air trip up to Simikot of Humla from Nepalganj. From Simikot, helicopter trip up to Hilsa, from where they enter Chinese Autonomous Region of Tibet. One day's drive from entering Tibet, the pilgrims reach Mansarovar. The Kimi Valley of Humla is another new tourist destination in the district. Ancient idols of archaeological importance and the monasteries have given it a new name, the Valley of Monasteries. These priceless statues, sculptures and artifacts are the major attractions in the valley. Majority of the tourists visiting Karnali are the pilgrims from India. Culturally, the people of the Karnali region believe in multi-deity worship, but majority pay homage to their ancestral deity, the master god. The famous ritual of worshipping 12 master deities has become a popular subject for researchers and tourists alike. Karnali is a majestic land, naturally as well as culturally. It has religious and cultural heritages in abundance. It offers attractions for tourists of varying interests. Somewhat deprived in education, health, and employment. Karnali's tourism potential, due to its unique and diverse nature, geography, religion, culture, history and archaeology, is unexplored. Many potential tourist destinations have yet to be explored in this region. So far, 101 destinations in the region have been branded as of touristic importance. Of the 101, 13 are under federal government, 9 under province government, and 79 under local levels. Karnali might lack top-class infrastructures including roadways, hotels or communications, but many destinations attract adventure tourists. Likewise, medicinal herbs like Yarsagumba, Kali Marsi paddy, millet and barley fields attract tourists when in full bloom. Some of the best organic dishes on offer you might find Kali Marsi paddy, honey, broad beans, dry apple, marfa, barley, sip wool products as the gifts of Karnali. Whitewater rafting in the 5th best river in the world, Karnali, and very tall and majestic Kanjirova, Patarasi and Cisne mountains open for expedition challenge mountaineers and explorers alike. Karnali is also known as the origin of civilizations including language, literature, art and culture. It's a pure and revered land. It has a lot to offer to researchers and explorers. Surkhet, the provincial headquarters of Karnali, is the gateway to most of the tourist destinations. Karnali Highway connects some of the destinations including Kotgadi, Panchadeval, Bilaspur, Mahabu area in Daily. Pachal waterfall in Kalikot, Sinja Valley and the Dul Monastery of Jumla, and Rara Lake of Mugu. Very few destinations of Mugu and Jumla have road access. On the other hand, many budget travelers are not encouraged to traveling in Karnali as it is relatively expensive due to unavailability of road network. It is a must-go destination for those who want to experience the real Nepal.
Actually, when I was 16, back in 2015, I was at a music festival. This music is called bluegrass that I play, and I was at this bluegrass festival, and this person named Tara Linhart. She is amazing. You can talk to her more, but she had a fantastic project called the Mountain Music Project. And I heard this project of Nepali musicians and bluegrass musicians coming together and fusing the music. And I thought it was really, really cool to see this cross-cultural collaboration. But I really just wanted to get back to music. And so I reached out to Tara. I had an opportunity to get some funding. And I emailed her randomly. She was in Bhutan at the time, and I said, hey, I want to set up a music project in Nepal. Can you connect me with some of your buddies? And she got on a WhatsApp call and started giving me the lowdown of how awesome it was. One of the people she introduced me to was actually Prince's father, Sham Nepali. And we met in New Hampshire. And we jammed together and had a great time. And he said, oh, when you get to Nepal, you have to meet my son. He's so great. He'll play music. You'll play music together. I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Like, every dad is going to say that about their son. Like, is it going to be great? Well, then 3 months later, I showed up in Nepal, and I had only brought a mandolin, and I wanted a guitar to write some songs on. So I called up Shamdai, and I said, hey, can I borrow a guitar? He said, yes, come meet my son. And so I met Prince in Kirtipur, and we started playing that day. And then we sat down and we started playing, and it was just like magic. It was just sort of this instant connection. That was pretty special and crazy to me that we grew up on opposite sides of the world, and there are American musicians who I don't vibe with. We don't have a connection, but me and Prince, it was just an instant connection. And so we started jamming together.
It's a love song that my great-grandfather composed, and we're gonna fuse with another bluegrass love song. सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी चस्मे दाजु झिल्के मिल्के जुल्फी मात्र कोर्ने चस्मे दाजु झिल्के मिल्के जुल्फी मात्र कोर्ने दारी जुङ्गा दन्त देखाई मेरो मन चोर्ने दारी जुङ्गा दन्त देखाई मेरो मन चोर्ने नजिस्काउन हे परुलाई हाय शिवर काकी छोरीलाई नजिस्काउन हे परुलाई हाय शिवर काकी छोरीलाई सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी जन्म दिने भगवान त हुर्काइदिने आमा जन्म दिने भगवान त हुर्काइदिने आमा कसले हेर यति राम्रो भइराइदियो जमा कसले हेर यति राम्रो भइराइदियो जमा सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति हाय कति राम्रो कपाल गोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल गोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल
As a young man, I went riding out on the western plains. In the state of North Dakota, I found my Nellie Kane. Found my Nellie Kane. Well, she was living in a lonely cabin with another man. 5 years she had waited for him as long as a woman can. As long as a woman can. And I don't know what changed my mind. Till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. Well, she hired me at work that day to help her till the lands. In the afternoon we planted seeds, in the evening we held hands. In the evening we held hands. And her blue eyes told me everything that a man could want to know. It was then I realized I would never go. I would never go. And I don't know what changed my mind. Till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. Well, many years have gone by, we've grown up tall. I became a father to him, and she became my all. She became my all. And I don't know what changed my mind. Till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. No, I don't know what changed my mind. Till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. Well, first of all, I just fell in love with Nepali culture. I love momos, I love dal bhat, I love it all. I love this beautiful country. I think our message to the world, one of them is that we want to show more people the beautifulness of Nepal. I think that from my perspective, I love Nepali folk music, but in this country, sometimes people haven't valued it. They've looked to the West for other influences. And so one of our goals is to bring up Nepali folk and fusing it. We're not just doing pure folk music, but to show that this is a vibrant, evolving history and tradition that is still relevant today. And then I also think to people abroad, and especially to Nepalis, I want to show them that they can take their instruments and their culture and they can bring it to the world, and that it's so amazing. I mean, everyone who I know that maybe they don't know so much about Nepal, maybe the only thing they know is that Mount Everest is there. But then once they try a momo, once they hear some music, then they love it. And so we want to just share this music with more people and share the cross-cultural collaboration. I know I've been saying this for a couple of years now, but because we recorded an EP for one day, and then I've been gone from Nepal for the last year, and the hard drive just sat, and no one did anything with the files yet. So we finally got the files going, and we are finally working on our debut EP that will feature a lot of these songs, including the next one, which is one I wrote a couple of years ago. Cause all day I chugga way after work and try to shove down all of the hurt. But sometimes at the end, does it fit on the page? And my eyes just run a glaze. Let it burn in there, sing hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. And is there ever an end to this breathless whirlwind? Is there even a point of it all? 'Cause at the end of the day, we're just us back in the fray on this rugged, snowy road. I'm on fire, and I sing hallelujah.
'Cause when the night birds come, it's when I lose my mind. No, I can't bear this endless ticking of time.
Well, right now we really want to go abroad, and in particular my dream is to bring the band to the US, to these festivals that I grew up going to, because I think it's so cool. I love playing the music that I grew up with, but with tabla on it, and the beat is dropping. It's so awesome. But right now we've been having a little bit of trouble figuring out with the visas, especially right now. So we're working on that. And then also being abroad. It's very difficult when I've moved back to the US recently. And so when we're far away, it's hard we can't make music in the same way. But it also means that the times when we are together, I've been back for a month, are just extra special because we get to make music together.
Intermittent playing hide and seek with the folk, enchanting one's heart with the sight of fully bloomed rhododendrons, and rejoicing in the lap of nature with the chirping of the birds. When you set foot in Sandakpur, you experience a wonderful feeling of heavenly bliss right here on earth. Due to the ever-changing weather and the snow-white mountains visible right in front of your eyes, Sandakpur constantly draws everyone's heart towards it. As a habitat for numerous species of birds and endangered wildlife, Sandakpur always leaves an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of all. Situated at an altitude of 3,636 meters above the sea level, Sandakpur is located at Ward 2 and 4 of Sandakpur Rural Municipality in Nepal's eastern Ilam district. Embracing the mountains of Nepal, India and Bhutan, Sandakpur is the only place in South Asia where one can observe the Himalayas of all three countries. While enjoying the Himalayan settlements, one can observe the sunrise and sunset from Sandakpur. It is the only place in Nepal from where over 60 mountain peaks, including the Mount Everest, Kanchenjunga, Makalu, Pathivara and Kumbhakarna, can be seen from one spot. Being the source of the holy Mai River, one of the 4 major rivers in Ilam, Sandakpur is also revered from a religious standpoint, attracting pilgrims from Sandakpur Ridge. The settlements of Ilam, Jhapa and West Bengal of India seem so close that it feels like you could hold them in the palm of your hand. The crimson glow of the sun rising from the Bay of Bengal in the morning, glittering upon the mountains. The joy of witnessing this form such a height is majestic. That is why in winter for the snow and during the monsoon for the rain, the number of visitors from both home and abroad to Sandakpur is on the rise. Among the different species of rhododendrons found in Nepal, 36 can be spotted just along the Sandakpur trek. The rhododendrons blooming all over the forest captivate every heart. With the chirping of birds, the cliffside honeybees, and the opportunity to study endangered species like the red panda, vultures, while enjoying nature, Sandakpur journey has captivated trekkers from around the world. Every year, more than 150,000 tourists from India Bhutan, Bangladesh and Europe visit Sandakpur. Known as the bird's eye place, Sandakpur was declared a one province, one cultural village by Nepal government in 2018. However, the place still awaits infrastructures like drinking water, electricity and proper trekking trails. Sandakpur can be reached after a 42-kilometer ride from the Ilam headquarters via Mai Pokhari and Kalu Pokhari. Another route to Sandakpur is from Ilam Bazar via Biblate, Sulubung, Mabu and Kalu Pokhari. When trekking to Sandakpur, the highest point of the Mahabharata range, the joy of staying in the homestays and hotels along the way while savoring local cuisine is immeasurable. While forging a connection with the Himalayan settlements, enjoying herbs and local produce, and playing in the snow in winter and the rain during the monsoon, you must visit Sandakpur at least once in your life.
Clash over border dispute in Bajra Humla leaves several injured. 4 injured evacuated by helicopter after violent confrontation. Lawmakers press government on various issues at today's House session. Special force on disaster management and preparedness ahead of monsoon. Nepal struggles to exist FATF grey list despite reform efforts. Weak enforcement and monitoring gaps slow progress on financial compliance. Russian President Putin wraps up talks in Beijing without details on a natural gas pipeline between Russia and China. Iran warns the Middle East war would spread far beyond the region if US and Israel resume their attacks. Trump says no rush to end Iran war. And USA defeats Scotland by 6 wickets in ICC World Cup League 2 match, climbed atop the points table. Good evening, I'm Suveksha Rajak and you are watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live 22 hours Nepal time from Kathmandu. Now the news in details. 4 people injured in a violent clash linked to a border dispute between Bajra and Humla districts have been evacuated by helicopter for treatment. The incident occurred in Rani Sain area of Himali Rural Municipality 3 in Bajra, where a dispute escalated during the construction of a temporary police post. Locals from Humla's Kharpunath Rural Municipality reportedly attacked the site, resulting in injuries to 6 people, including local officials, residents, and a police assistant head constable. Those injured include municipal officials, ward representatives, and local residents, with 4 of them airlifted to Surkhet Provincial Hospital for treatment. Authorities say the evacuation was arranged by the local government using a private helicopter, while tensions between the 2 sides had also been reported earlier in the month. Members of the House of Representatives of Nepal have raised urgent concerns over health services, disaster management, landless settlements, and road safety and social inclusion, calling for stronger government action. They stress that citizens' constitutional right to health care must be effectively implemented without delay. Lawmakers also demand swift rehabilitation of disaster-affected infrastructure, including roads and district drinking water systems. Concerns were raised over infectious disease risks such as Ebola and poor conditions in holding centers, urging immediate improvements. The government also tabled 2 replacement bills related to election procedures and voter registration reforms in the same parliament session. A landslide triggered by heavy rain and hail has destroyed a school building in Humla's Changkheli rural municipality, while also demanding farmland and livestock sheds in the area. Authorities are still assessing the full extent of losses as the police teams have been deployed to the remote site for investigation and relief support. In another incident, floods in Falgunanda rural municipality swept away 2 newly built bridges and destroyed suspension bridges, severely affecting local transportation. Farmers in the region report major disruption to agriculture and mobility, worsening hardship during the monsoon season. As Nepal prepares for the upcoming monsoon, officials have stepped up disaster preparedness efforts, but concerns remain over the country's readiness following past severe flooding and landslide. More on this in our Issue of the Day segment later in the bulletin. Nepal continues to face challenges in existing the FATF grey list due to weak enforcement of financial crime laws and inadequate monitoring of sectors like cooperatives, real estate and informal money transfers. An Asia-Pacific Group delegation is currently reviewing Nepal's progress on anti-money laundering reforms and engaging with government officials. Although some legal measures have been introduced, including stricter asset seizure rules and banking requirements for high-value transactions, implementation remains weak. International assessors have highlighted gaps in investigations and coordination among agencies, while the government has reiterated its commitment to meet global standards. We'll dive deeper into this in our cover story later in the bulletin. The Middle East situation is escalating across multiple fronts, with rising tensions involving the US and Iran alongside continued violence in Gaza and Lebanon. US President Donald Trump has indicated no urgency to end the Iran confrontation, prioritizing strategic and military objectives while diplomacy remains uncertain. Iranian officials, including the IRGC, have warned of broader regional escalation if US strikes continue raising fears. The conflict could expand. At the same time, Gaza faces worsening humanitarian concerns highlighted by the interception of a Gaza-bound aid flotilla and detentions of activists. The Strait of Hormuz remains a key flashpoint affecting global oil flows and economic stability. Despite mediation efforts from countries such as Pakistan and China, the situation remains highly volatile with no clear path to de-escalation. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping have concluded talks in Beijing without final agreement on the long-delayed power of Siberia's second natural gas pipeline. Officials say the two sides reached a general understanding on the project, but key details such as financing and timelines remain unresolved after years of delay. Despite the stalled pipeline deal, Russia and China signed more than 20 agreements covering trade, technology and broader cooperation alongside a joint declaration on a multipolar world order. The joint statement referenced continued Russian gas supplies but did not indicate any major breakthrough in energy negotiations between the two countries. Analysts note China remains cautious in deepening visible alignment with Russia, balancing close cooperation with diplomatic flexibility in global relations. Putin's visit comes few days after US President Donald Trump's Beijing visit. The United States defeated Scotland by 6 wickets in an ICC World Cup League 2 match held at the TU International Cricket Ground in Kirtipur. Chasing 170 runs, the USA reached the target in 27.1 overs with 4 wickets down, powered by key contributions from Smith Patel, Shayan Jahangir and captain Saiteja Mukamala. Earlier, Scotland were bowled out for 169 in 43.3 overs, with Mark Watt top scoring with 66 runs. Rushil Ugakar led the USA bowling attack with 4 wickets spurted by Saurav Netravalkar, Shubham Ranjan and Harmeet Singh. With this win, the USA moved to the top of the points table, while Scotland sits second on run rate as Nepal prepares to face the USA next. Landslide and floods are causing widespread damage across Nepal, destroying homes, schools and vital infrastructure. With the monsoon just beginning, questions are rising over how prepared the country really is. Full details after the break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And it's time for our Issue of the Day segment. A landslide triggered by sudden hail and heavy rain has destroyed the Dafis Basic School building in Nepka village of Changkhili Rural Municipality 5 in Humla. Local residents reported that the landslide also damaged farmland and buried animal sheds belonging to local households, causing significant losses in the area. Authorities say the exact extent of the damage is still being assessed as police teams have been deployed to the remote site for investigation and support. Elsewhere in Falgunanda Rural Municipality, 2 newly constructed permanent bridges were swept away by floods within a year of being put into operation. Following the damage, residents are now facing serious transportation difficulties, especially during the monsoon season. Farmers in the area also report that their agriculture activities have been significantly affected, leaving many discouraged. In addition, 2 suspension bridges in the same locality have been completely destroyed, further worsening the situation. With the monsoon season in Nepal expected to begin in about a week, government agencies have stepped up disaster preparedness efforts across the country to reduce the risk posed by floods, landslide and other monsoon-related natural disasters. Sabika Shrestha brings more.
The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority has estimated that around 51,868 households and a population of 226,661 people across the country will be affected by monsoon-related disasters this year. The authority, which approved the National Monsoon Preparedness and Response Action Plan 2083, made this estimate by analyzing the preliminary status of past damages and projecting that even more people could be affected this year.
मनसुन सुरु हुने टाइम भयो भन्दा पनि हुन्छ अब आउन लागेको अवस्था छ र त्यो समय आउँदै गर्दा चाहिँ हामीले लगभग सबै किसिमका तयारीहरू चाहिँ पूरा गरेको अवस्था छ मुख्य गरी हामीले कार्ययोजनामा चाहिँ पहिलो वर्षको मनसुनको समीक्षा गरेका छौं हामीले के कस्ता कार्यक्रमहरू गर्यौं कस्तो किसिमको विपदले चाहिँ हामीलाई समस्यामा पार्यो वा हामीले चालेका कदमहरूले चाहिँ के सकारात्मक सन्देश दियो भन्ने विषयहरूको पनि समीक्षा गर्यो भने केही कमी कमजोरी भएका विषयमा त्यो पनि राखेको थियो र त्यसपछि अर्को चाहिँ हामीले अब कुन निकायहरूले चाहिँ यो मनसुनको सिजनमा खटिने आफ्नो योजना बनाउने कसरी जाने भन्नेमा कुन क्षेत्रमा कुन निकाय चाहिँ सक्रिय रहने र के काम गर्ने भनेर स्पष्ट रूपमा जिम्मेवारीहरू पनि तोकिएको छ विपद सम्बद्ध निकायहरूमा चाहिँ त्यसैमा काम गर्ने हामीले आपत पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले कोसँग कन्ट्याक्ट गर्ने कोसँग कोअर्डिनेसन गर्ने भन्ने विषयमा पनि फोकल पर्सनहरूको सम्पर्क नम्बरहरू नामहरू पनि उल्लेख गरिएको छ योजनामा
Meanwhile, experts highlight on the lack of budget for early preparations. They urge for a more pragmatic approach.
सबै जोखिमहरुमा हाम्रो नेपाल एउटा मात्रै जोखिमले प्रभावित भएको देश नभएको र बहुप्रकोपीय जोखिममा चाहिँ रहेको देश हुनाले हामीले बहुप्रकोपीय एंगलबाट तयारी गर्नुपर्ने र त्यसको लागि चाहिँ हाम्रो नीतिमा भएका प्रावधानहरूलाई कार्यान्वयनमा लैजाने स्थानीय सरकारले अहिले पनि चाहिँ जस्तो मेरो क्षेत्रमा यो यसपालिको मनसुनले कस्तो पानी के रे प्रभाव पार्छ मेरो कुन खोलामा चाहिँ खहरे बाढी आउँछ कुन खोलामा चाहिँ नदी सिस्टममा चाहिँ ठुलो बाढी आउँछ र मेरो विद्यालय कुन अवस्थामा छ विद्यालयबाट घर जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ एउटा विद्यार्थी चाहिँ ठुलो पानी पर्यो भने सकुशल घर जान सक्छ कि सक्दैन त्यो इभ्याकुएसन रुटहरू बनेको छ कि छैन भन्ने सम्मको चाहिँ जानकारी र त्यो अनुसारको तयारी पनि गर्नुपर्ने हुनाले त्यो तयारी अहिले हाम्रो कम छ भनेर भन्नुपर्छ
Last year, 10,823 families were directly affected by monsoon-related disasters and 495 people lost their lives, according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority. As the government prepares for the next budget, there's a call for prioritizing disaster preparedness. The onus also is on the general public to remain cautioned towards the hazard. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Vinay Deshar reporting for NTV World.
With the monsoon season approaching in Nepal, reports of flooding and highway disruptions caused by landslide have already begun emerging from different parts of the country. Last year marked one of the most devastating disaster periods in Nepal's recent history. As the year's monsoon nears, serious questions are being raised. Are the local, provincial and federal governments adequately prepared for disaster risk reduction to minimize damage and prevent further loss of life? Here's a report.
Kailali, Rohtahad, Bara, Parsa and Sarlahi districts of Madhya province are highly vulnerable to extreme climate volatility during the monsoon season. Historically known for severe river flooding, the region is now increasingly affected by incessant rainfall each year. In Kailali, rivers including the Mohana, Kandra and Chaudhar continue to inundate settlements in Thangari sub-metropolitan city, Kailari rural municipality and Janaki rural municipality. As the risk of disaster continues to grow, local governments have prepared monsoon disaster response plans and started implementing preparedness measures. Rescue teams have been placed on standby, while safe shelters, relief supplies and emergency communication systems have been activated.
Mohana belt ka ra Kotani belt ka बडाहरु बढी विपदबाट प्रभावित हुने गरेका छन् र कैलाली गाउँपालिकाले विपदको पूर्व तयारीका लागि विभिन्न सचेतनामूलक गोष्ठीहरू कार्यक्रमहरू गरेको छ त्यसैगरी प्रतिकार्य दलहरू गठन गरेको छ खोज तथा उद्धारका सामग्रीहरूको व्यवस्थापन गरेको छ.
Meanwhile, in Kanchanpur, the Dodha River remains a major threat in the areas including Punarbas municipality, Belouri and Beldari. To minimize the risk, local authorities have intensified monitoring along river banks. Deepak Bhandari, head of the Disaster Management branch at Dhangari sub-metropolitan city says excavators and other essential equipments have been kept on standby and coordination has been strengthened with the Nepal police, the armed police force and local volunteers. Likewise, in eastern Nepal's Ilam district, local authorities are also stepping up disaster risk reduction and preparedness efforts ahead of the year's monsoon. The provincial government has allocated 450 million Nepali rupees for the repair of bridges that was damaged last year. Reconstruction work on roads, washed away bridges and electricity transmission lines is currently underway.
पूर्व तयारीको लागि अब हामीले एउटा नगरपालिकाको तर्फबाट यो डिजास्टरलाई अब प्रति कार्ययोजनाको निम्ति हामीले अब एउटा यो बर्खा भन्दा अगाडि नै एउटा चाहिँ के कार्यक्रम गर्ने भन्ने हाम्रो सोच छ र नेपाली सेनाले जुन किसिमको चाहिँ हामीलाई ओरिएन्टेसन गराइराख्नु भएको छ यो जेठ 14 गते पनि उहाँहरूको डेमोन्स्ट्रेसन छ हामी संलग्न हुन्छौँ र नेपाली सेनासँग सशस्त्र बलसँग संयुक्त रूपमा चाहिँ हामीले पूर्व तयारीको लागि केही योजनाहरू गर्ने भन्ने हाम्रो चाहिँ एउटा छलफल कुराकानी भइरहेछ.
The government had declared Ilam a disaster crisis zone for 3 months and launched relief and construction initiatives. Last year, the district suffered extensive damage to roads and infrastructures, and 2.19 billion Nepali rupees was secured for recovery efforts. However, delays in contracting and slow fund disbursement have significantly slowed reconstruction progress, despite the approaching rainy season this year.
In this context, in our public health segment, today we asked, what should be done to stay safe from monsoon-induced disaster? Let's have a look.
नदीको बहावलाई प्राकृतिक बहावलाई रोकछेक छेकबार गर्नु हुँदैन त्यसलाई अवरोधलाई तोड्नुपर्छ र ढलको चाहिँ व्यवस्थित निकास गर्नुपर्छ र यसमा अब नागरिक स्वयंले पनि सचेत हुनु पर्यो.
त्यो क्षेत्रका जनसंख्यालाई अगाडि सचेत गराउने त्यहाँ भएको धन के छ उहाँसँग जीवनको कुराहरू भयो त्यसलाई अन्य खराएर हुन्छ कि या त त्यही क्षेत्रमा पनि कसरी हुन्छ त्यसलाई राम्रोसँग व्यवस्थापन गर्न जरुरी रहेको.
पूर्व तयारी रूपमा हामीले के कसरी यसलाई समाधान गर्न सक्छौं भन्ने कुराहरुमा चाहिँ सरकारले तयारीमा जुट्न जरुरी देखिन्छ.
खोला अतिक्रमण गरे हटाउँछु भने त्यो पनि अधुरो रह्यो हैन. अनि अब मेन टोलको भित्र जो टोलको जो पानी जम्या हुन्छन् त्यसलाई निकास गरेर खोलासम्म फाल्ने हुनु पर्यो के.
सुदूरपश्चिमको तराई क्षेत्र कैलाली कञ्चनपुरमा डुबान हुनुको कारण भनेको चाहिँ नि यहाँको नालाहरू चाहिँ अतिक्रमित हुनु र नालाहरू फोहोर हुनु मुख्य कारण छ. यसको लागि विशेष गरेर स्थानीय सरकारले यसमा विशेष पहल गर्नु पर्यो.
विपद पूर्व कार्य तयारी गर्ने अब के हुन्छ अगाडि भन्ने त्यो अगाडि नै हामीले तयारी गर्ने पछिको भन्दा पनि हामीले अगाडिको तयारी गर्ने. त्यसैगरी सुरक्षाकर्मीलाई तैनात राख्ने है. हामीले अब भइसक्यो भने हामीले सुरक्षाकर्मीहरूलाई पनि बोलाउने बित्तिकै उहाँहरूले पनि हामी सुरक्षित ठाउँमा लिएर उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ सुरक्षा ठाउँमा राख्न सक्छ.
त्यही बारी पसेको सफा गरेर बस्दैछौँ अहिले. अब त्यतिखेर त अब कुम्लो कुटोर बोक्यो डाँडातिर भागो.
Nepal remains under pressure to exit the FATF grey list as weak enforcement and monitoring gaps persist. Despite reforms, international reviewers say major challenges remain. More in our cover story after this break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And this is time for Cover Story. Nepal is under increasing international pressure to strengthen its fight against money laundering and financial crimes as the country struggles to meet global compliance standards required to exit the International Grey List. A delegation from the Asia-Pacific Group on Money Laundering reviewed Nepal's progress amid concerns over weak enforcement against illegal money transfers, poor oversight of high-risk sectors and limited action against major economic offenders. Here's a report.
Nepal is facing mounting international scrutiny as the country struggles to strengthen anti-money laundering measures required to exit the global grey list. A delegation from the Asia-Pacific Group on Money Laundering is currently reviewing Nepal's progress amid concerns over weak enforcement against financial crimes, illegal money transfers, and poor oversight of high-risk sectors. The Financial Action Task Force had given Nepal a 2-year action plan requiring stronger monitoring of banks, casinos, cooperatives, and the real estate sector, along with tighter controls against informal money transfer systems known as hundi. However, analysts say Nepal has yet to demonstrate effective enforcement against major financial crimes and economic offenders.
नेपालको सन्दर्भमा एउटा प्रायोरिटी एरिया हामीले सम्पत्ति शुद्धिकरण पनि राखी पनि रहछौं र त्यही अनुसार सबै एजेन्सीले दिएको कार्ययोजना अनुरूप अघिल्तिर कार्य सम्पादन पनि गरिरहेको छ। जुन अनुसन्धान गर्ने विशेष गरी सीआईबी लगायतका एजेन्सीजहरूले जुन अनुसन्धान गर्ने टोकरी छ त्यो अनुसन्धानलाई हामीले त्यसको बोथ हामीले क्वान्टिटी र क्वालिटी रूपमा त्यसमा गुणात्मक सुधार पनि भएको छ। सम्पत्ति शुद्धिकरणले जुन अनुसन्धान गर्ने त्यसलाई थप गतिशीलता पनि दिएको छ। त्यसले अब रिजल्ट किनभने आजै भोलि रिजल्ट आउँदैन, अनुसन्धान गर्ने केही टाइम पनि लाग्छ।
APG representatives have repeatedly raised concerns over limited investigations, weak prosecution, and insufficient coordination among regulatory and law enforcement agencies. Authorities have also faced criticism for failing to strengthen oversight in high-risk sectors, particularly cooperatives and property transactions, which remain vulnerable to illicit financial activities. Recent political instability and delays in government reforms have further slowed implementation efforts, creating uncertainty over when Nepal will fully comply with international anti-money laundering standards. In recent months, Nepal has introduced stricter asset confiscation measures, mandatory banking channels for transactions above 500,000 Nepali rupees, which is approximately $3,800, and expanded risk-based supervision of financial institutions. The Financial Action Task Force placed Nepal on the grey list in February 2025 over strategic deficiencies in combating money laundering and terrorist financing.
Shram Sanskriti Party Chair Harka Sampang has said his party is ready to even face suspension if necessary to ensure government accountability to Parliament. Speaking to journalists outside the Federal Parliament building, he said their protest will continue until the government responds to key public concerns. He criticized the Speaker's ruling, saying it restricts their ability to question the government and goes against parliamentary accountability. Sampang added that issues such as quotas, the Lipulek border dispute and foreign loans remained unanswered, forcing continued protest.
सरकारलाई चाहिँ सदनप्रति जिम्मेवार बनाउन खोज्या हो। प्रत्येक दिन नै रहन्छ, मेरो भोलि पनि रहन्छ हाम्रो। जनताले मूल्याङ्कन गर्छ नि को गैर जिम्मेवार रहेछ हैन भन्ने कुरा। अहिलेको चाहिँ तपाईको सरकार पक्ष कतिको गम्भीर रहेछन् भन्ने कुरा, संसदप्रति उत्तरदायी छन् छैनन् भन्ने कुरा, त्यो त मूल्याङ्कन भइरहेछ नि छैन।
During today's House of Representatives meeting, lawmaker Harka Sampang and other members of his party staged a protest with placards, prompting Speaker DP Orial to warn against what he called non-parliamentary activities. Earlier, Information and Communication Minister Dr. Vikram Timsina clarified in the House of Representatives that the government has no intention of controlling the press and remains fully committed to press freedom. He also stated that while press freedom is protected, media outlets must maintain professional dignity and operate within ethical limits.
एकजना मान्यज्यूले सरकारले अलिकति निरंकुश चरित्र देखायो, प्रेसलाई संकुचित गराउने मनसाय हो कि नियन्त्रण गर्ने पो गर्न पो खोजेको हो कि भन्ने प्रश्न अघि भर्खरै राख्नु भएको थियो। म त्यहाँबाट राख्न चाहन्छु, स्पष्ट गर्न चाहन्छु।
The minister added that the government is committed to strengthening institutions like the Press Council Nepal and the Film Censor Board for more effective regulation. He further assured that suggestions and concerns related to his ministry in policy and budget discussions will be carefully considered moving forward. Now, moving into another news, the embassy of Israel in Nepal marked the 78th Independence Day of the State of Israel on Wednesday. The program was attended by Nepal's Vice President Ram Shahe Prasad Yadav, senior government officials, diplomats and representatives from various sectors. Addressing the event, Israeli Ambassador Shmulik Ayribas said the occasion represented not only Israel's national celebration but also friendship, partnership and shared aspirations between Israel and Nepal.
This occasion is not only a celebration of Israel's national journey, but also a celebration of friendship, partnership, and shared aspirations between our two countries.
The event featured cultural performances and presentations on Israeli technological innovations in fields including healthcare, agriculture, cybersecurity and water management. Stories of Nepali participants in Israeli training and employment programs were also highlighted. Now in the other news, an agreement has been reached between the government and rights activist Ruby Khan, ending her 23-day hunger strike demanding a fair investigation into the abduction captivity and murder case of Nirmala Kurmi in Banki. Khan ended her fast after a 5-point agreement was signed, with a representative from the Prime Minister's office offering her water to formally conclude the protest. A government delegation including senior police officials, Home Ministry representatives and advisors to the Prime Minister's held talks with Khan at Nepalganj's Sanjeevani Medical College. Under the agreement, authorities pledged to review all investigations related to the case filed in 2021 and move the process towards swift judicial action. Officials said efforts will be made to ensure timely justice through proper legal procedures following the review of the ongoing investigation. AI drone technology has been introduced for the first time in Mustang to conduct forest patrols in high-altitude areas, pastures and remote grazing lands under the Annapurna Conservation Area project. The initiative aims to strengthen monitoring in difficult terrain with sparse human settlement where traditional forest surveillance is challenging. Previously used mainly for filming purpose, drones are now being deployed for conservation and anti-poaching surveillance in protected forest zones. Officials say the AI-equipped drone will help control illegal activities such as wildlife poaching and unauthorized exploitation of forest resources. The drone weighs around 1,063 grams and can fly up to 15 to 20 kilometers, significantly improving the reach of forest monitoring operations in the region. The natural gas exploration project in Dai Lake's Jaldale area has stalled as second phase work remains incomplete, raising uncertainty over its progress. Although studies suggest large reserves that could last Nepal for decades, implementation delays have prompted concern among local authorities. Officials have urged the government to verify reserves and speed up extraction efforts with support from Chinese geological surveys. Final commercial testing is still pending, with further progress dependent on agreements between Nepal and China. Time to look into the international update, but before that, quick recap of the headlines. Clash over border dispute in Bajura Humla leaves several injured, 4 injured evacuated by helicopter after violent confrontation. Lawmakers press government on various issues at today's House session, special focus on disaster management and preparedness ahead of monsoon. Nepal struggles to exit FATF grey list despite reform efforts. Iran warns the Middle East war would spread far beyond the region if US and Israel resume their attacks. Trump says no rush to end Iran war. Russian President Putin wraps up talks in Beijing without details on a natural gas pipeline between Russia and China. And USA defeats Scotland by 6 wickets in ICC World Cup League 2 match, climbed atop the points table. Now here in the international front, Israel is moving closer to early elections after lawmakers voted overwhelmingly in a preliminary reading to dissolve the Knesset, starting the process for a snap vote before the scheduled October deadline. The move was triggered by cracks in Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition, especially after an ultra-Orthodox faction withdrew support over military service exemption disputes. Polling suggests Netanyahu's coalition would likely lose if elections are held amid public pressure following the October 2023 Hamas attack, ongoing regional conflicts, and his own legal and political challenges. However, analysts warn the outcome is uncertain and Israel could still end up in a political deadlock with no clear majority, potentially leaving Netanyahu in a caretaker role. Israeli authorities intercepted a Gaza-bound flotilla in international waters, detaining hundreds of activists and transforming them to Ashdod. Rights groups say about 430 members of the global Shamad flotilla were arrested while trying to deliver humanitarian aid and challenge the Gaza blockade. Israel says the mission was a publicity effort linked to Hamas, while activists and supporters argue it was a civilian humanitarian operation. The Foreign Ministry says detainees are being processed with consular access, rejecting claims of unlawful detention. The operation has drawn international criticism from countries including Indonesia and Spain, which are demanding the release of their nationals. The incident adds to growing global concerns over Gaza's humanitarian situation and ongoing access restrictions. The World Health Organization reports 600 suspected Ebola cases and 139 suspected deaths, with confirmed infections rising in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. Officials say the outbreak linked to the Bondi-Bujo strain likely began a few months ago and is expected to increase as detentions continues. The WHO has declared the situation a public health emergency of international concern, though it is not considered a global pandemic risk. Most cases are concentrated in Eastern Democratic Republic Congo, where healthcare facilities are reportedly overwhelmed and workers face shortages of protective equipment. Authorities are investigating the origin and spread of virus while prioritizing containment and prevention of further transmission in affected regions. Heavy rains and flooding across central and southern China have killed at least 22 people, with 20 still missing after days of extreme weather. Provinces including Hunan, Guangxi, Guizhou and Hubei have suffered severe damage, evacuations and widespread disruptions. In Guangxi alone, 10 deaths were reported after a truck was swept into a swollen river, while other areas saw collapsed infrastructure and communication outages. Nearly 24,000 people have been evacuated as authorities deploy disaster relief and rescue efforts. Officials warn that more heavy rain is expected, with experts linking the increasing severity of such events to climate change. It's time for business news.
Google has unveiled the design of its new smart glasses, marking its return to a market it previously attempted to enter more than a decade ago without success. The device is expected to go on sale later this year and positions Google in direct competition with Meta, which currently leads the segment with its Ray-Ban smart glasses. Meta's smart eyewear has reportedly sold more than 7 million units, giving the company a strong early advantage in the growing wearable technology market. The new product reflects renewed competition among major tech firms to develop everyday augmented reality and AI-powered wearable devices. Analysts say the launch signals an intensifying race to integrate artificial intelligence into consumer hardware beyond smartphones. France has warned that terrorist organizations are increasingly exploiting new financial technologies, including cryptocurrencies, to move funds across borders with great anonymity. Speaking at the No Money for Terror conference in Paris, Finance Minister Roland Lescure said recent global studies show extremist groups are actively using crypto assets, highlighting the need for safeguards without stifling innovation.
This is a concern we all share. All recent financial action task force studies show that terrorist organizations have fully embraced new financial technologies, starting, of course, with crypto assets. Technologies that guarantee opacity and anonymity are inevitably attractive to criminal organizations seeking to move funds discreetly across borders. We have solutions, they exist, to support the healthy development of these technologies. We shouldn't stop technology from developing, we just have to make sure that it's used for the right use. We need to protect.
French President Emmanuel Macron also called for stronger international regulation of crypto assets, warning that weak oversight could allow misuse for terrorist financing and organized crime.
Plusieurs pays représentés aujourd'hui ont clairement alerté, à juste titre, sur les porosités qui existent entre financement du terrorisme et criminalité organisée. Nous l'avons constaté, nous l'avons fait avancer sur l'agenda national. Le GAFI, d'ailleurs, a toujours été vigilant à cet égard. Et c'est pourquoi il nous faut maintenant bâtir des coopérations nouvelles pour renforcer notre action.
Macron added that while digital financial tools bring innovation, their pseudonymous nature can also be exploited, making stronger global coordination essential to prevent abuse. The European Union has pledged support for farmers and efforts to safeguard food security as it moves to address rising fertilizer costs linked to the ongoing Iran war. EU Agriculture Commissioner Christoph Hansen said the bloc would step in to help farmers cope with the economic pressure caused by surging input prices, which have been driven higher than instability in the Middle East.
And first, we will support farmers and food security in the short term. We will provide immediate relief, much needed, when the bills start coming in for the farmers. And the Commission will deliver a substantial financial support package to affected farmers before summer, and this is our commitment, and we will present it in June with the amending budget.
Brussels has faced growing calls from member states and agricultural groups to intervene as fertilizer price spikes threaten to push up overall food costs across Europe.
Now to sports. Arsenal have been crowned Premier League champions for the 2025-26 season, ending a 22nd-year wait since their Invincibles title in 2003 and 4. The title was confirmed after Manchester City dropped points, making it mathematically impossible to catch Arsenal. Under manager Mikel Arteta, the club completed a long rebuild after multiple near misses in recent seasons, including several runner-up finishes. Fans celebrated in large numbers around the Emirates Stadium and across North London. marking one of the most emotional moments in the club's modern history. The win is seen as a defining achievement for Arteta's project, restoring Arsenal to the top of the English football after years of falling just short in title races. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer opened the first session of Prime Minister's Questions since the bruising local elections with quips about football, congratulating Arsenal, a club he supports, on winning the Premier League.
Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me not to comment on one of Manchester's great heroes, moving on after almost a decade. So let me congratulate Pep Guardiola on all his success at Manchester City. And Mr. Speaker, if I could declare an interest, I'd also like to say congratulations to Arsenal Football Club on becoming the Premier League champions.
The first ever China Trail Ultra 2026 has been successfully held in Mugu to promote religious tourism and local athletic development. Dera Bahadur Buddha won the men's race, while Sunmaya Buddha topped the women's category in the 33-kilometer high-altitude competition. The event featured runners from across Nepal covering challenging terrain from Kimri village to the sacred Thayanath temple. Now the weather updates, first from across Nepal and then the world. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Clash over border dispute in Bajira Humla leaves several injured, 4 injured evacuated by helicopter after violent confrontation. Lawmakers press government on various issues at today's House session, special focus on disaster management and preparedness ahead of monsoon. Nepal struggles to exit FATF grey list despite reform efforts, weak enforcement and monitoring gaps, slow progress on financial compliance. Iran warns the Middle East war would spread far beyond the region if US and Israel resume their attacks. Trump says no rush to end Iran war. Russian President Putin wraps up talks in Beijing without details on a natural gas pipeline between Russia and China. And US defeats Scotland by 6 wickets in ICC World Cup League 2 match, climbed atop the points table. That's it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website www.ntvworld.com. I'm Suveksha Rajak and thank you for staying with us. Good night.
you think is the single most important principle the young storytellers, whether it is journalists or whether it's filmmakers, should hold on to today?
Don't forget the past. I mean, I am not as rosy-colored about the technology, perhaps, as we are sounding, especially when I hear that you're saying the same thing that I hear out, is that we don't have a choice. And then I'm always worried about, well, then where is this power? Because if it's not the power from the people, then where is it coming from? But I do have a lot of faith if you don't forget the past, because this has been the gift of humanity, is that we don't have to discover everything for ourselves. We have, from previous generations, from 200,000 years, there's been humanity. We've been writing things and teaching things, a little bit less than that time, but particularly in a country like Nepal with such a distinct and rich and diverse cultural heritage. Yes, your grandmother, your parents might not understand social media, but they know things worth knowing.
The shooting, a girl in the second episode had a fight with her father because maybe she made some mistakes in her homework, and her father blamed her, and then the little girl, she got a temper, she elbowed her father, and then the fight didn't calm down after that, even got bigger. If we showed it out, it could be fantastic. It can increase the ratings. But finally, the director, he decided to cut it because he thinks that this kind of scene, if it is shown on the great public, maybe one day it will hurt this little girl. So I'm really very touched by his this kind of humbleness and respect for people.